Yo, what's up, everybody? Today is Monday, September 20th, 2010, and you're listening to episode 136 of On Tap. I'm Dale Koulis, and joining me once again is Matt Kohler.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And since Matt is here, and we've been hyping it up for quite a bit, it is the long-anticipated Part 4 of the comic book video game retrospective.
Yes.
And boy, oh boy, did we do quite the research for this one, especially Matt.
Yeah. How long does this take for all 4 of these now?
Oh, gosh, the last installment was like 2.5 hours. That's probably what we're going to hit, at least a maybe 3 hours. I'm probably going to end up dividing this into 2 parts if we go longer than 2.5 hours.
Well, listeners already waited for like a year for this to get over with. So.
Yeah.
Only one more part after this.
I know we've both been cracking away at our game library here, getting re-familiar with these comic book games for this installment. And
I'm playing the wrong gen, though, I noticed. I'm playing like 360 games.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I don't
I'm
know.
like, Matt, what? Matt, no, wrong gen.
New Spider-Man game, I gotta play it. Iron Man 2's on sale.
Yes, that's right. I did a little bit of that too, but I did plenty of. I know some games I ended up like just beating or putting in a lot more time than I thought I would. So yeah, I've been playing. It's been fun catching up and making a little progress in the backlog too while I'm at it. So yes, but before we get to all that, and Matt, I know Matt, you want to give a shout out to a special contest winner.
Yep, Biff Sticks got my surprise pop trivia at the end of the show from last episode we did for the comic book. What was that? No, that was the fall preview episode. He got it. So there is somebody out there that listens, and thank you for paying attention.
Yes, thank you, Biff Sticks.
I kind of snuck that in there at the end too, so I'll give you credit for that one. So,
and in case people are wondering what Matt's all-time favorite game is, if they remembered if that was his pop quiz question, Matt, what game is it?
Jet Set Radio Future.
Still your all-time favorite game.
I love it. I don't know. I love it. I'll get you to play it.
You're crazy.
You're gonna
no,
play
I'm just kidding. No, I played it. It's a good game.
No, you're gonna play it and you're gonna love it.
If you say so.
Moving on.
Moving on to what we've been playing. Yeah, let's just kind of roll with what we've been doing when I have you on, Matt. We'll just kind of rotate every couple of titles here. I know we probably both got huge lists. Probably like.
Oh, well, I got 4 games.
Only 4 games. All right. Well, what's your first one?
Well, these are all games I've actually finished as well, but picked up Spider-Man. Or actually, I didn't finish the 4th one, mind you. But Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, I picked that up on first day available, and I actually finished it last week. But I'm actually going to throw a review out there on VG Evo for anybody. It'd be Pete Wade would be my username on that. Shameless plug.
Yeah, keep an eye out for that. Yeah, I remember you told me you had a pretty thorough review wrote up.
Shattered Dimensions, probably one of the best Spider-Man games out since Spider-Man 2, easy. But I don't want to talk too much about that because we're going to actually
save it for Part 5.
Yep. Actually, I was going to say...
Why don't you give them a little tease?
I can't, really.
Except that it's actually really good.
I was going to say there's only about 13 levels. The villains are awesome in it. The way the game chases up, it keeps it from getting bland. And I'm really happy that it wasn't sandbox.
Okay.
And I think we've been getting too much sandbox, and they're relying on it as a fail-safe. And it's nice to see a linear Spider-Man game. So, yeah. I was going to say, I'm going to throw out the other 2 real quick just because I'm not going to talk too much about them since we're going to do them on the next show. But I also finished Hellboy, The Signs of Evil, and Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, both story modes and arcade run-throughs. So,
cool.
But I'll talk about those more on the next show.
Yeah, I beat MK versus DC just last month, and yeah, that's gonna be a fun one to talk about.
Yeah, we're gonna have to play some online on that.
Hell yeah, bring it on! I got the strategy guide. I was trying to go for the all fatalities achievement, but I don't know, one of them must have had like pro move timing or something. I just couldn't pull it off. I was like, God damn it!
What do you think of that combo challenge?
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, I tried it a few times just to get all the combos for one character or whatever, but I always get stuck halfway through because some of them require very precise timing. Like, the only way you're going to get it is this by sheer luck, or if you got an arcade stick. That's pretty much it.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I played, I think, Sub-Zero. I couldn't even get past his first combo.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah, I was usually able to get like several combos in, yeah.
Yep, Shang Tsung, I think I got like 3 or 4, and I'm just like, that's enough of this. Like, this isn't worth that 5 achievement points.
Anything else, or you said that's it?
I played Halo 3 as well. I finally started that yesterday, actually, because I'm like kind of buying into all the Reach hype, and I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I bought Halo 3 like 3 years ago, like pretty much right after it came out.
And you never
And
played
it literally, like, I hate to say it, but like I always buy new games, and I'll buy like 2 or 3 at a time, and one of them always falls to the wayside, and that was the one. And I just never. I'm like, you know what? If I'm gonna buy Reach, I'm playing Halo 3 before I play Reach. I'm like, that's just kind of one of those things. Like, I still haven't bought.
You should actually. I was telling Matt this before off air, but you know, now that you got all 4 of them, and you're pretty unfamiliar with most of them. Never play 3. You should just play them the order they were meant to be played. Reach 1, 2, ODST 3.
But that's just because I tell you have to watch Star Wars in order.
Yep.
And you do.
Yep.
Because you don't want to end it on a bad note by watching the prequels last.
That's right.
No, but I really like Halo 3. I'm trying to play it on Heroic. I'm pretty much playing solo right now, but I'm recruiting Dale to help me. So
I'm right. Yeah, I tried a couple of the Halo games on my own before, and even just on like a normal difficulty. You know, the Halo, they love to swarm the Covenant and the Flood at you. It just gets too crazy, too chaotic. I wouldn't. Like, I always play through them on.
I'm pretty average at shooters. So I mean, I'm not like terrible, but I'm not like the top of the line shooter guy. Like I told you, I finished Modern Warfare 1 and 2 on Veterans. I mean, that's checkpoints. So
yeah, I guess that's a good place to start off. What I've been playing, Halo 3. I did a couple more days of that from when we last recorded, and just leading up to Halo Reach, just kind of getting like it's on our last episode. Just more and more online, and just to get one last good online run with it. And I had a really, really good time. I don't know, maybe I'll come back to it just to see if more people are playing. And I'm sure there is. I know when Halo 3 just came out a few years ago, Halo 2 still had a pretty sizable audience because people preferred like its controls and its methods of its playlists than Halo 3 is, and it retained a sizable online crowd until its servers went down earlier this year. So I'm pretty sure Halo 3 will still have an audience.
Well, Halo 3, there was I want to say yesterday when I was playing, on a Sunday, probably like 9 o'clock in the morning, there's 65,000 people online.
Halo 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it could be too. You got to think at least there's probably some people wanting to play Halo 3 before they start Reach 2.
Well, yeah, but I'm like, when I popped in War for Cybertron, like, right after it came out, there's like 6,000, so I'm like, yeah, 65,000 is a pretty good number.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember, too, seeing, like, on the Twitter updates, people were saying that Xbox Live activity for Halo 3 saw a major increase in the weeks leading up to Halo Reach, so...
Have you been hearing about the errors with Reach? It's been like I've heard of a couple of things that noted that Microsoft's addressing some of the issues. I guess there's been a lot of disk read errors and game freezes.
Oh yeah, I guess I heard about it on. It's like hard to pull off online co-op games for like the new 4 GB models of the Slim 360. That it wasn't optimized for like Halo Online Co-op is only designed for systems that have a hard drive due to the way Halo caches the load times, and that the 4 GB built-in hard drive for the new Slim units, I guess Halo doesn't recognize it as a built-in hard drive. It recognizes it as just like flash memory or whatever. So
well, you shouldn't be buying a 4 GB hard drive Slim anyways. To be honest with you, like. Unless you don't know what you're getting, or somebody got it to you that didn't know what they were buying you as a gift, don't get the 4 gig.
Yeah, that's just for more casual play, I guess.
Not really. I think it's just people get it by accident. They're like, oh crap, I need a hard drive now.
Yep. No, that's the one you get if you only plan on playing Madden. You'll be good. But yeah, I played a lot of Halo Reach this past week, and I think I'll just kind of just give just some very, very brief impressions here, because I think I want to save my full thoughts for like a roundtable review, because I know Chris and Liz have been playing it a lot, and I've been playing through the campaign and co-op with Scott online. We're through mission 7. We got three missions left. Planned an all-nighter just to beat it the first day it came out, but then Scott got tired on me, and we had to call it quits after mission 4. We managed to get one more online marathon and did 3 more missions. But yeah, I'm loving what I played so far, and just the if you've seen all the E3 hype and previews, you know there's a space combat flight segment in there, and Scott didn't know that going in, and he absolutely loved it because he loves space combat, or just like general flight action games like Tom Clancy's Hawks. He loves those style of games, and he got all kinds of giddy when he saw that you got to control a spaceship, and that segment was really cool, and just the game plays great. I like the new tweaks they did, and got to play a little online multiplayer too, and that really delivered. I like the new loadouts, the way they work online and in the campaign. But like I said, we'll go more in detail probably on our next episode, so be on the lookout for that. But as far as the rest I've been playing, I've kind of been doing a lot more of the usual suspects: Williams Pinball Hall of Fame and Zen Pinball. It's kind of like my daily routine. I gotta play like 15 or 30 minutes of that before just to start off my gaming marathon. It's like tradition now. I'm kind of leaning more towards Williams Pinball now. Actually, I think I actually like that a little more now than Zen Pinball, just because it has more authentic pinball physics and.
It's Dale's gaming foreplay.
Yes,
I'm gonna smooth it up with a little Williams Pinball.
Well, I know, Matt. I know you like to roll your foreplay with Farmville.
Yes.
I'm
real big into the Facebook games.
The Facebook games, Mafia Wars.
No,
no.
I apparently have a farm though. I don't know how I did it. I never signed up for anything. I've been on like Facebook like 8 times I think total in my life.
Your wife did it for you.
I'm like, how come I have like a huge farm? And
she's like, I don't know.
No, I don't even want to get into Facebook games.
Yeah, same here.
We should do a segment on a show later on just about how. Have you ever overheard people talking about it?
Yes.
And they're like, I got a blueberry cow today. Did you see that? And I'm like, you people sound ridiculous.
I've had plenty of people ask me to join their Mafia War gang, farm their crops, and no. But moving on to more other. I don't know how to transition out of that. I don't want to.
Farmville.
But yeah. Haven't been farming in Red Dead Redemption. I guess you could say I've been harvesting flowers along the way.
That's a bad segue.
Yes.
Last time you go from a great segue to a really bad segue.
Yes.
That's all right. We'll make up for it later. Yes. I promise.
But yeah, Red Dead Redemption, kind of slowly making my way through that game. I usually 1 or 2 days a week I'll do a couple missions at a time, so still doing that. And same with Phoenix Wright Trials and Tribulations now on mission 2, and did a couple missions in Sniper Ghost Warrior after we reviewed in our last episode. I'm in Act 3 right now. Just kind of threw in Deathspank again just a couple days ago for about an hour. Just kind of, I'm not even looking at the quest log. I'm just kind of running around killing stuff, and I'm like, oh, there's stuff I should collect. And sure enough, I ended up accidentally completing a quest along the way, and
that's the way to do it.
I find that as a far better way to play the game. Played a few more comic book games in preparation for this edition of the retrospective, and finally I rented and beat Rogue Warrior for the 360 here in I think it's like about 3.5 to 4 hours. A very, very quick and easy first-person shooter. The game was initially released as and advertised as a fully featured, as if it would be comparable to your Call of Duties or Halos, like a full-priced first-person shooter, and that game is anything but that. It's surprising how here's a quick 2-minute review for Rogue Warrior. It plays so rudimentary. It's so basic. I would say it's comparable to probably first generation first person shooter from this era, or maybe it probably feels more equal to a FPS on the last generation. Just that's how shallow it is. I mean, you can go into cover and you could do that, but even that just doesn't feel.
Is it better than Punisher No Mercy?
Well, actually, I would say no. No, yeah, actually, I would say it's better than No Mercy, but
No Mercy sets the bar pretty low.
Yeah, it does. yeah, it's not that good. But it's surprising. Like, the enemies you're just pretty much going through each level, just shooting bad guys, and like then the level's done. They really don't do anything in that game to mix it up. There's no like on rail vehicle segment that's like usually the standard fare for most FPSs. It seems nowadays you don't really got that one or two missions to break up your basic gameplay, and it gets pretty repetitive very quickly, and before you know it, it's all done. And I mean, it's okay. The gameplay it works. It's serviceable, but it just doesn't do anything to make it its own.
Is that a full price game, or was it a budget title?
Well, now you could probably find it for probably. I think you probably find used copies. I think for like $10-$20. So. But
this game it reminds me of Section 8.
Oh,
not by the gameplay by any means. Just it came out, and also like the next day, I know we see it at a pawn shop for like $5.
Yes.
I remember we were laughing at wasn't it like 2 weeks after it came out, we saw that game at like a pawn shop for like $5 or something like that. We were laughing about it. It was like, man, that just came out. Oh well, we just walked away.
Yep.
Like, that's a good deal.
But yeah, I beat it. I plowed through it, and there's not a whole lot to that game. I guess if you want to get some quick and easy achievements, I just kind of plowed through it on easy real quick, just because I remember hearing the reviews. There is one cool thing to mention in that game, and that is the credits scene is ridiculously hilarious, because I guess Mickey Rourke voices the main character, and Rogue Warrior is one of those games that tries to throw out as many gratuitous F-bombs as possible, and the end credit scene is like a little rap song with Mickey Rourke, all his lines just kind of spliced together, him going on like a cursing rampage, and you could just YouTube it. Actually, it's pretty. I got a few chuckles out of it, so there you go. Yeah, I tried the online once or twice just to get a couple quick, play one or two online rounds achievements, and the online's very lackluster. Just deathmatch, team deathmatch. There you go. So yeah, Rogue Warrior, not worth playing. I just did it for just plow through in a few hours for the achievements, and I guess if we were to score it, I'd probably give it like a 5 out of 10. So yeah.
Nice.
All right, now before we get on to the retrospective, Matt, you said you have a current event you'd like to bring up.
Yes. I'm going to cover the lackluster Move launch from this week.
But we just gave a very in-depth preview, and you look like you look like you were kind of, thought it would look promising.
At the retail establishment I work of, I believe one guy showed up. And the person that was working in our electronics department didn't realize that there was a launch that day. So nothing was prepared for it. So that one guy that came in had to leave disappointed. So I don't know what's going on or if it was like that anywhere else, but literally when you have one guy, not good.
I heard a couple of coworkers kind of, oh, hey, Move's coming out this week. And I know one guy's a pretty hardcore Sony fan at our work, and he was pretty excited for it. And like, oh, I read all these reviews, and I didn't hear any buzz. And
yeah, I just see the games in the case.
There wasn't many. It only had like a 5-game launch. I thought it would, like the Kinect, as lackluster I think Kinect is going to be, at least it's launching with like 15 to 20 games, and Microsoft's going all out promoting it. So I think the Move has more potential.
I did see a Kevin Butler commercial for the Move though.
Oh, they did. Okay,
yeah,
so at least they got to at least do a Kevin Butler commercial.
I don't care what he's talking about. I'm just listening. That's just funny, but I just overall I'm just like, for something like, I guess I'd say that's big since it's their first motion control peripheral. It's a big event of the year, and Kinect's going to be a big event. I know considering where we live, it's not that. We're not exactly like a hub of civilization where we're at, but I'd expect more than one guy going, "Hey, you guys got that Move?" And that literally that, and of course it's always funny when nobody's prepared for it. They're like, "What? There's a launch tonight? What?" I'm curious to see what happens with Move. It's still early in the game, so I'm wondering what the outlook's going to be over the next weeks. It launched on Friday, which is kind of a weird day to launch on. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of lackluster weekend though for it. I think maybe it's different. I don't know.
I think they just kind of want to get it out there, beat Microsoft to the punch, and I think like within a few weeks here, they're actually going to have a few more big titles. Tiger Woods is going to be a big title that supports Move, and I know some games kind of supported it through firmware already, like Resident Evil 5 Gold has it already patched in, and I read some impressions online, and they said that works great. So, which is no surprise because I heard the Capcom versions of Resident Evil on Wii work really good with the Wii motion controls, so that's good to hear. I can only imagine the Resident Evil 5 works even better.
Yes. I will apologize in advance because I seem to have picked up a cold last night, so forgive me if I have the sniffles. But...
You sound awful, Matt. You sound like the plague.
It's not that bad, but I'll apologize. All right.
Apologize more.
Can we get this started?
Yeah. We got a long list. We're just going to go in alphabetical order here, and no...
Fancy.
Yes. Yeah, no system specific this time, because this way we can just cover...
I got it by system, but I guess I'll just maybe note whether it's like an exclusive to one.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Yeah. No, screw it, I'll start.
Okay.
I don't think any of us have played this first game, actually, but... Or did you manage to get some time in this?
No, I don't. This is one of the few I actually don't have.
Okay. All right. Alien vs. Predator Extinction. I remember hearing about this. Came out for PS2 and Xbox in 2003 by Electronic Arts and developed by Zono. And this was
well known.
Yeah, I never even heard of those guys.
There's a few of those on here.
And to top it off, it's a console real-time strategy game. So that which, with a couple of exceptions, have never really took off on the consoles.
There's some hardcore fans of this out there, actually.
There's a little cult following.
Oh yeah. There's some really hardcore fans of this one. Yeah,
but I remember reading the reviews at the time.
Yeah, it didn't get really good reviews, but
it was.
There's some really good hardcore fans out there of this game, so they're still playing it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember it getting like horrible reviews. I remember it just kind of got mixed, just kind of it's okay kind of reviews, and but it's a multiplayer game. You could do 2 players. 21 single-player missions and play as predators, aliens, or marines, just like the recently released first-person shooter Aliens vs. Predator game. And each race had their unique abilities, weapons, and vehicles, but does not feature any base building, which I'm actually kind of a fan of, because Halo Wars didn't... Well, there is base building, but it's very limited, and it really... you don't have that much of a focus on micromanagement like you do in your average real-time strategy game. I think that's just it on PC RTS games, and that's good to hear that they don't have any base building. But Marines can be ordered via dropship, and your Predators have their honors, so others will join. Aliens use huge face huggers to build numbers, and their different face huggers will yield different results. Xbox version kind of has a little advantage here with a higher frame rate, but that's what we got for our notes for it. So
it's kind of a cool system with the Predators, like the honor system. It's basically like the more kills and stuff you get, and the better you do, the more are encouraged to join you. So the better you perform, the bigger your group gets. And the facehugger thing, the way it works with that is depending on what your facehugger's attached to, that's what they'll turn into. So you can get like just drone aliens, warrior aliens, runner aliens, or pred aliens if you attach to predators. So it's kind of a unique thing. But like I said, there's a lot of hardcore people out there that like that game. So and I've been keeping an eye out for it, but I haven't seen it around lately, surprisingly. So, but
I just want to also throw out here too. I know one thing we want to throw out for this generation of comic book games is that this is the kind of like the era they finally started to see. They got to be pretty damn good, and you still got a fair amount of crap, like our next game on the list.
To put it bluntly, I guess they got their shit together.
Yeah, they got.
Honestly, most of them did.
I mean, aside from the 8-bit era from our Part 1 era, we saw a lot of licensed NES crap, courtesy of LGN and.
Well,
Acclaim.
It seems like it goes in like. They have really bad generations, and then the next one picks it up.
16-bit era, we saw a lot of
X-Men games and stuff like that were really successful.
We saw most of them stick to the tried and true side-scrolling brawler, which worked. Then 32-bit era, no one could really get the first-gen 3D stuff right.
Well, then they tried to fall back on the last-gen concepts. Like, we'll just do like a 3D side-scroller, and it's just like that's not going to work. Or
we'll try our first 3D camera game, and nope, that did not work.
Well, this one's kind of infamous for being bad, and I'd say it's up there with Superman for the N64. I said that correctly for the person out there. But it's Aquaman, Battle for Atlantis, excuse me. It's Xbox and GameCube, 2003 by Lucky Chicken Games and TDK, so you know it's good. It's a single-player action-adventure game in which you fight to save Atlantis from various enemies such as Ocean Master and Black Manta. The cutscenes are told through like these terrible comic-style panels. There's no voiceovers, no full-motion video, nothing. It's just really bad comic panels, and they're really bland-looking. Game features a few of the unlockable characters, classic Aquaman and Black Manta, and there's really not much for controls. You just get your basic punch, kick, grapple, and call for help from sea life. It's very poorly handled, and it's really clunky. Alright, the graphics are very bland, and there's a lot of fogging in this one, and it's just lots of boring, empty environments. So, I mean, honestly, this looks like it could have been an N64 game. Like, it really does. It's just terrible, but this actually was an inspiration for X-Play's Golden Mullet Award, as it's considered one of the worst games of all time. And I don't know if you guys have seen that out there, but they bash on that game, so... And I don't know if you watched me play this at all, but I actually did get to manage to get a few levels in.
I think I did watch you throw it in once, and
I'm positive I can beat this game, but I got really, really bored while I was playing it. So
yeah, I figure there's some hardcore Aquaman fans there, where besides a game or two where he's part of an ensemble cast, they're very amped to see him get his first single player game, and gosh, Aquaman fans.
I feel sorry for him actually, but. The funny thing is like we're going through the research here. Like I always check for basic information, and I read like other people's reviews, and like everybody says the same thing. Like the controls are sucked, the graphics are terrible. But then every once in a while you get somebody like, "This is my favorite game. That's the only game I own for the Xbox." And I'm like, "Really? Like, like you're full of crap, buddy." But, like, is really the only game you own for your Xbox? I feel sorry for you. So, but I'll throw it back to you.
Alright, next one is Batman Vengeance, and before Batman Arkham Asylum, this is one of the few good Batman games before it. I remember playing it, and I remember having that, it was a launch era game for PS2 and Xbox, so it also came out on GameCube by Ubisoft, and that cool animation style that we knew and loved off the old Fox animated series from the early 90s. And kind of had a blend of third-person platforming and vehicular gameplay through 19 levels. The story for this one is where after the quote-unquote death of the Joker, criminals fight to take his place as the new crime lord of Gotham. But Batman is framed, and he must work undercover to solve mysterious crimes before the fall of Gotham. And features a lot of the voice cast from the animated series too. And it got well received, and I remember liking my time playing it too many years ago. And Batman makes use of his wide variety of arsenal of gadgets. So yeah, I mean, it was a pretty solid Batman game from what I remember. You have pretty good memories of it too, right, Matt?
I think I only played Rise of Sin Tzu.
No, I remember you playing.
Did I play this?
Yep.
I can't remember.
Me and you playing it back when we had shared apartment there.
I don't know. These ones are always alright with me. Like, I didn't really like love or hate them. It was just one of those things. Like, oh, it's kind of cool to see the animated style, but no, I always dig the animated series. So I'm actually watching it right now. Still, I've been watching it for like 2 months now, but not a bad game really. I was gonna say it's alright from what I remember of it, and I'm gonna go back and play it again, but it's a matter of time. So
5 years later, still I finally played Batman Vengeance.
I'm gonna play Halo Reach tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, see that's a segue. Batman Dark Tomorrow. It's on the Xbox and GameCube. From 2003 from Hot Gen and Kemco. It's a single-player action-adventure, and it's actually based off the comics, which is rare for Batman games. Usually it's like a movie license or cartoon-based. But Batman's trying to end a gang war, and he finds out Commissioner Gordon was kidnapped, leading him to Arkham Asylum. And he finds out more is at work than it seems there, so... Oracle, Robin, and Batgirl make appearances, and some of the villains include Joker, Ra's al Ghul, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, Killer Croc, Scarface, the Ventriloquist, Black Mask, Zsasz, and the Ratcatcher.
Now, how can you go wrong with a roster like that?
Everybody's like, the Ratcatcher? I didn't know who Zsasz was until Arkham Asylum, but I like Batman the cartoon, but I'm not much of a comic reader, so unfortunately. I would like to, but
I used to read the old Adventures of Batman and Robin,
Oh, yeah.
or Batman Adventure comics, because those
yeah.
are based off the animated cartoons. I read a lot of those.
I actually have the first issue with that. I think that's the only one I have of it. But the game actually received really bad reviews for its gameplay and repetition, but it was praised for the story and cinematics. It's the first recipient of the Shame of the Month from EGM, so that's always good. And there was a PS2 version planned, but it was canceled. And I found an interesting quote from a review where they said Batman's worst villain is Kemco, and I agree with them. So
another thing worth mentioning too is I don't know if a lot of people go to GameInformer.com, but they have an awesome feature called Replay where they just kind of randomly pick just. Sometimes there'll be a theme to it too, like if there's a new game is coming out and there's an old game based off that franchise, they'll play it, but like it's just kind of them playing just like a random game for like 20, 30 minutes and doing their own commentary, just revisiting these quote-unquote classics, and Batman Dark Tomorrow was one of them, and I remember from the old reviews at the time too, just like the old feedback and just watching them replay it, all the horrible memories came flooding back, and yeah, that game just like that. The controls were very, very busted, bad camera, and one of the things that made it just a bad game to begin with was that, Batman, he doesn't kill people, but in this game, so after you beat them up and they were in a down state, you had to handcuff them to make sure they'd stay down.
Oh my!
And I had one of those games, so.
Wait till you see what we got coming up in Catwoman.
Yeah,
so that's one's pretty.
Well, one of the other games I was playing too involved a similar mechanic too, but it was actually a good game. But we'll get to that later. Next up, we have. Also, I think this game probably led to Kemco going out of business. I don't know if they went out of business for sure, but at least they stopped publishing games because.
That's not a bad thing.
But no, they weren't notorious for putting out horrible games. They actually put out some decent stuff there for a while. They did the Top Gear racing franchise, which I was always kind of, not a hardcore fan, but I know they put out some other decent stuff over the years, but this was one of the last games from Kemco.
Yeah, that's gotta be an argument to be made. I always hear like, oh, well, this studio closed down, and it's sad. I'm like, okay, it is sad that people lost their jobs, but at the same time, if you're putting out a crap game...
Well, not every game's a winner. Every now and then, publishers will sometimes get it wrong, and...
Yeah, but there's a lot of times where they'll release like a buggy, unfinished, glitchy game where it's just everything's crap on it. And
well,
I'm like...
EA, for example, they usually put out pretty high quality stuff, but APB, this recent MMO, they just released just several months ago.
Well, that's a whole big debacle there.
Yeah, that ended up. If you didn't see the news articles for that game just ended up being like a total mess. EA forced them to release it like pretty much nearly unfinished in an unfinished state, and the game had so many bugs it was nearly unplayable. And the game just even though Real Time Worlds said they were going to support it, they ended up going out of business, and they said soon, like within this next month, the game's going to be getting shut down.
I heard I heard like a rumor, quote unquote, of like Epic Games maybe picking up the reins or something like that. I thought I just read that recently.
I didn't hear that.
But that might be, like I said, that was a rumor, and I thought I read it, but I could be wrong on that. So don't quote me on that. So
yeah, I don't know, maybe unless they get some deal with EA or something, because we'll see how it turns out. But back on track here. Got another Batman game for you, and this one was actually pretty good too. Batman: Rise of Sin Tzu. This one was out on all three: PS2, Xbox, GameCube. Was from Ubisoft, not Kemco. And this one was like a 3D multiplayer, a 3D brawler. Like you didn't see too many of these. You saw some from time to time, like Dynamite Cop. Die Hard Arcade, but they didn't really catch on. But Batman: Rise of Sin Tzu was a 4-player one, and you could choose between Batman, Batgirl, Robin, and Nightwing. So we got the 4 main core Batman characters. So that was just a great roster right there. And players gained upgrade points depending on how they played, and some levels were time based. I didn't like those. I remember that's what kind of turned me off from the game right away. The time based missions were horrible, and I don't know why they did it, but the game takes place on the anniversary of the death of Bruce Wayne's parents. The city's in chaos, and their new foe rises to battle Batman. And yet, this is, a matter of fact, a brand new villain. They actually brought in comic writers to pen a brand new villain for Batman. So, but you also saw returning villains like Scarecrow, Clayface, Bane, and Harley Quinn and Joker, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze. You have your standard roster of Batman villains besides the new villain Sinzu. So, this game kind of got mixed to low scores, but I liked it. It was fun playing it with my brother a lot, and I don't know. I grabbed a quote out of my old review. Actually, ended up writing. I was assigned to review this back in my old when I reviewed a lot more than I do now. But here's what old quote from what I said. There are some levels where the objective is to rescue 8 civilians, and there's a time limit for each one that needs to be rescued. If one isn't rescued in time, a credit is taken away from the amount of lives left, and the timer is reset to only measly 10 to 15 seconds more to get that hostage before another credit is taken away. This makes matters extremely difficult and takes away from the beat-em-up feel where there isn't a focus on taking as much time as desired on whipping up on the thugs. So, yeah, that just gives you an example on how the time limit kind of ruined the game for me. But, if it wasn't for that time limit factor, this would have been a far more enjoyable beat-em-up. I don't know if that's how if you feel the same way, Matt.
I don't remember much about this game, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
The other Batman games, like I said, I just remember there's the 2 animated ones. Dark Tomorrow, which I actually haven't thrown in yet, and I want to throw it in, but I just know it's so notoriously bad, so...
This one had that graphical style of the animated series, so it had that going for it.
Yeah. We're going to kind of jump into the next one, I guess.
Yeah, we actually threw this one in.
This was actually the first one we threw in for our research, but Batman Begins, it's on all 3 systems, 2005, Eurochroma. It is a one-player action stealth game, I guess, if you want to say that. There's a lot of stealth elements to the game, but game plot actually follows the movie, and it expands on some scenes, and like Batman infiltrating Arkham, and it uses 20 scenes from the film to tell the story. And it's actually kind of nice. Like, we were watching, I was like, wow, it's actually pretty good quality. The gameplay is good with basic but responsive controls and a nifty intimidation system, and you kind of like use your environment to frighten the enemies because they don't know where you are. And it's kind of like one of those things, like I kind of see how they did that in Arkham Asylum. Like it kind of like an early sign of that, I guess, if I want to put it that way. Mm-hmm. The graphics are really good and received the best graphics on PS2 and Xbox award from G4. And like I said, it was one of the first games we visited for the show, and honestly, it was like a breath of fresh air in comparison to the last games we were playing. Like
especially for comic book games based off movies.
Yeah. Oh, man, yeah. Like, putting this in, I'm like, I was used to the PS1 era games where, like, Hellboy was all blocky and the textures were terrible and everything and bad cameras. And I put this in, I'm like, wow, this is actually really good. And I'm like, maybe we were a little high on it at the time, I guess. It was like
after
playing such terrible games,
playing like horrible. This I think any game on PS2 seemed like a big step up, but but for the fact for it being a comic book game and then a licensed movie game too, I remember I just really liked how it even just from like the first hour and a half that we played of it. I really liked how they mixed in the CGs and the FMV footage from the movies.
Yeah,
and I remember reading too later on that they actually had they took advantage of their other licensees, and they had like Burnout-style Batmobile levels.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't get that far, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
And like you said, the stealth of it, the stealth style of gameplay was kind of inspired by Splinter Cell. It reminded me of like from the time I spent with Splinter Cell Chaos Theory that, it was a nice mix of, your racing, your stealth, and your action beat 'em up, so...
Overall, like that's one of those ones. Like if you're gonna check out something, it's like dirt cheap to buy it too. I think I paid well under $10 for that. So, cool. But yeah, we'll just jump on from there.
We got Lego Batman listed as our next one, but that came out for PS2. But Matt and I played it a lot more on this current generation, so we're just gonna cover it on the next episode.
Yeah, we got a lot of those too that we're gonna bring about. So we're just gonna kind of let you know that it came out for the system, and then go more in depth next time. So,
all right. Blade 2 is the next one where we have a lot of information on. I actually this was another one I was assigned to review several years ago. It came out in 2002 from Activision on PS2 and Xbox, and it was a single-player action-adventure, and the story, of course, revolves around the movie. There's going to be a new race of night... I forget the name of the new race of creatures that Blade 2 introduced, but... I guess in your notes here it has very little to do with the movie. I guess from my time remembering playing it, I want to say it revolved around the movie pretty well. But
I think they used it as a backdrop, but like the game just went all over.
Because I remember it used the enemies from the movie.
Yeah, but from what I read about it, like it's just a mess for the story.
At the time too, like action games are trying to implement this new gameplay mechanic to use the right analog stick to punch and kick to do your core action fighting controls, and that's what Blade 2 tried to do. And you didn't have access to that many weapons, but the right stick, it worked for the controls from what I remember, but it wasn't as refined as I kind of miss my buttons for kicking and punching and combos. And the graphics were okay. I mean, they were a big step up from Blade on PS1, of course, but it was a movie license game and it showed. I guess I had a few of my own notes too. Blade's buddy Whistler makes all his weapons and will chime in to give you advice here and there. And a few weapons from the movie make their debut in the game, such as like the sunlight UV grenades. And Blade also has a special rage ability, which will let him which is the only way Blade will use his sword, which you build up a meter as you kill guys, and then you unleash his sword attack. Which sucks. Blade usually see him use a sword in the movie. You think you'd be able to use it a lot more. And it just seemed very generic and uninspired, which is par for the course for your average movie licensed game. So,
yeah.
All right, Matt. We got another one of those.
Oh, bad movie license games. Catwoman on pretty much all three in 2004 from EA. It's a one-player action adventure, and it ties into the film, quote-unquote. Patience Phillips is murdered and brought back to life by a magical cat, and then seeks revenge using her newfound cat powers, quote-unquote. Which just... Yeah. Anyways, the gameplay is like a poor man's Prince of Persia. Graphics are decent, and it's Halle Berry doing dialogue, so it's going to be bad. And obviously got bad reviews for it. I'm not going to go much into this one. Like, I don't even want to play this. It's just one of those, like, the guy that when I bought this game, the guy behind the counter laughed at me. And he's like, why are you even buying this? I'm like, I'm doing a podcast for comic book video
games. Did you just get this recently then, or was it?
It was a few months back, okay. And he's just like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to try to play through. And he's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, at least I could do is try to sell you the game, but the funny thing...
at least you gotta give the clerk credit for, giving you a fair warning.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about this, and I actually watched a video, but, your enemies never die. They just, kind of, crouch down, and then they start glowing. So, if somebody falls off a building, say you knock a bad guy off a building, he just, hits the ground, and then he, freezes in place and glows. And then I guess you can see him, sitting up and, scratching his head and then walking away later on or something, but... Oh, man. I don't even... I've yet to see the movie for this, but... Oh, God.
So you didn't even get a chance to throw it in yet to experience
I don't want
suck?
to.
You gotta at least throw it in for at least 10, 20 minutes. Come on.
Throw it in.
Why'd you buy it?
For the fans. For the fans.
All two of them.
Biff Sticks is listening.
Oh, I thought you were talking about fans of the movie and the game.
Oh, they were I'm talking about our fans.
Even Halle Berry admitted the movie sucked.
Yeah.
Wait, we have fans?
Halle Berry sucks. I'm sorry, she does, but she was terrible as Storm.
She was the first person to accept a Razzie for the movie.
Yeah. She was like, I get an award?
All right, next up...
My Halle Berry impression there.
Next up, we got another movie licensed comic book hybrid game here. Yeah. Constantine for PS2 and Xbox from THQ in 2005. Yes, I remember the movie. Keanu Reeves was pretty good in it. Never got a chance to play the game, but from what we got in our research here, it's a single-player action game. And you said it loosely follows the movie?
You know what? I might actually jump on this one. I'll give you two in a row here. So,
yeah. But that's no problem. Go for it. Yeah, okay. I never got a chance to play it. So,
to be honest with you guys, I looked up everything I could on this. I couldn't find any reviews, nothing on this. No info, Wikipedia.
And did you say the game's kind of hard to come by too? It's one of the few you don't own.
No, I actually do own this. That's everything I got, I actually got from playing it. I actually threw it in for about 2 hours, but I know when I start out, it has CG recreations of the opening scenes from the movie, so I know it does follow the movie a little bit, but after that, it kind of veers off from there, and you're building your, I don't remember what the name of the shotgun is, but I think I write it down? I don't know. No, I didn't. But anyways, I started playing, man, and the controls are really sluggish, and the aiming's terrible. And it's like barely a step above tank controls. Like, just not good for controls. The graphics are really blocky. Like, I kind of grew on me after a while. I got used to it, but it just reminds me, like, I'll always go back to this, how the N64 characters looked. Like, they kind of have that blocky polygon look to them. And I'm like, okay, this is like the PS2 era. They should be well beyond that at this point, and it wasn't. But the sound is actually really good. I like the vibe of the game. And, like, the background music's good. There's demons screaming and people screaming while you're in hell and stuff. And there's a totally awesome bad Keanu Reeves impersonator that does the voice for Constantine in the game. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't think they got Keanu Reeves to do the voice. And I heard the guy start talking. He's like, we gotta go now. And I'm like, oh my god, that's awesome. Like, it is so bad. Like, Keanu Reeves is bad acting.
Maybe he was just really stoned when he did the voice acting.
Well, you get an ability, like I said, I only played a couple hours, so I don't know how in-depth this goes, but you have an ability called Second Sight, and you can kind of kick it in as you're playing, and it lets you see in the dark, and, like, demons hide in people's bodies at points, so you can reveal whether they're a person or an actual demon. And then you got, like, basic moves, like you can shoot stuff, you got a couple melee moves and some spells. And the couple times I did spells, basically it shows your 4 buttons pop up and it'll highlight one of them, and you have to hit it in a certain amount of time, and that's how you cast a spell. So there's really nothing too in-depth for that. But like I said, it's got a dark scenery and a creepy vibe, and I kind of wanted to keep playing it, but I got to this one point, like, I helped this girl out, I'm going through buildings and stuff, and I get outside, and he's like, vermin. And then all these rats start, like, crawling out from garbage cans, and I ended up having to, like, stomp on rats. And it was just really ridiculous, because they're really tiny rats. It's not like giant rats or anything. It's just a bunch of really little rats. He's like, vermin. And then he just starts stomping on rats, and I was like, what the hell? Like, this just got crazy.
Keanu Reeves doesn't like rats.
Vermin.
They needed to, you had to, do your exorcism on them,
Like, I don't know how to explain how the graphics look in this game, but like I said, the sound's not bad. The story actually wasn't terrible from what I played, but I don't know what they were doing with graphics. It looks like they started to make it for the 64, and they're like, oh crap, we gotta make it for next gen. Oh well.
It's weird because the game came out right before the 360 was about to come out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
It was like Hellboy for PS1, one of those games sat in development for like 5 years.
You'll see it one of these days, but it just looks pretty rough. So
I remember screenshots. Yeah.
The CG cutscenes are really good, actually. Surprisingly, maybe that's where they put all the graphics out. They're like, oh, let's make the cutscenes great. Mm-hmm. But it's a good thing you get a twofer because you actually get a
these kind of go hand in hand. I mean, I think I'll just lump them together here. Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. The first one came out on PS2, Xbox, and GameCube in 2005. The other one was just on PS2 in 2007, but also came out on next-gen systems. But I actually played Rise of the Silver Surfer for about an hour on 360. Didn't play the first one, but from what I understand, they're both essentially the same game. Just, a 2-player beat-em-up. Actually, the second one was a 4-player on 360.
The second one was more like Ultimate Alliance.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, there is a bit of difference between the two. It's
okay.
Different companies, too.
Okay, different developers? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, well, for the first one we got here, based off the movie, a few extra villains thrown in. Graphics are okay, but Human Torch looks the weakest.
Yeah, it's just the flame effects are pretty poor.
Gameplay is, basic button mashing with special attacks and special co-op attacks. Soundtrack uses 4 new songs from the bands Taking Back Sunday, Go Betty Go, The Explosion, and Jurassic 5 as themes for the characters. Matt, you said you rented this?
Yes, I have a little story here. Actually, I rented that when it first came out because I was like, oh, a comic book game. Because I pretty much literally do. Like, if I'm excited about one, I just buy it. I don't care. Like, even if it is a movie license. But
you're expecting this to redeem the horrible PS1 game?
Well, it actually wasn't that bad. Like, I won't say it's a terrible game, but when it first came out, like, me and my wife were playing a 2-player, and we're running through it, and we're like, hey, this isn't actually that bad. And then we get in our first boss fight, and I think you're in the hospital right after you get your powers. And all of a sudden, like, my character just goes through a wall, and I'm outside, like, we're, like, in this room, and there's 2 windows, and I'm outside the window. Like, outside the window, I can see my character, but I can't get back in. So my wife's trapped inside with all these enemies and these bosses, and I'm just, like, hanging out outside the window. I'm like, oh, I guess you're doing this on your own, but I'm like, what a crappy glitch. Like, seriously, like, at least have me die or something, but nope, just hanging outside the window. And then like we couldn't go any further onto the game, and I'm like, I think we're done here.
And I guess that's just par for the course for movie license games. You try and get them out in time for the movie, unless you get, glitches that should not be in there. But for Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, we have that was a 4-player game. At least on 360, it was 4-player.
It was on the other PS2.
It was okay, and that mixed in the movie and the original plot, and players can be switched on the fly. Other villains that appeared besides Doom and the Silver Surfer are Terex and Super Skrull. 12 different fused attacks, which are special attacks made by combining powers, are featured in the game. And you put it was reminiscent of Ultimate Alliance.
Yep.
Yeah, I could kind of see that, except this one wasn't as isometric as Ultimate Alliance. You got more, like, the camera was like, it was like more of a third-person action game, I thought.
I just say with, like, the switching on the fly and the fact that you could pick one of the 4. And I kind of remember that, like, when I was watching gameplay of it and stuff like that, too. And I thought it was kind of funny that they called their the fused attacks.
Yeah.
After Ultimate Alliance 2, Fusion came out, like...
Well, this came out, like, 2 years before Fusion.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm just saying, but, like...
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, Fusion, it's a new idea. You can fuse your powers again. I'm like, yeah, they've done that before, guys, so... You have to make a big deal out of it, but...
Yeah, well, it seemed like a gimme for a plot or gameplay feature to do. And, I guess it was kind of a cool feature of the movie, since in the movie they had them, like, being able to take each other's powers, And I thought it was cool in the movie seeing Michael Chiklis take the form of... or other people were taking the form of the Thing there. And
a lot of people are hard on these 2 movies. A lot of people hate them. Like, I don't hate them. I don't think they're the best movies. They're better than Daredevil.
Yeah, I wasn't too big on either. Well, actually, I thought Silver Surfer was okay. I just think they tried to make it too much for kids since they're both
That's
PG.
a family movie, though.
I thought
that's the whole dynamic behind the Fantastic Four.
Well, they didn't need to go with, like... I think they could have went... It just felt like a few of the action scenes were like they were really holding back on to keep for the PG rating. I thought it kind of took away from the movie, and it's just... Yeah.
I don't like what they did with Dr. Doom. Yeah. Dr. Doom is supposed to be like the ultimate badass.
And like their version of Galactus was a joke.
The giant storm.
A giant cloud.
Yeah. You kind of saw the outline of his head in the center, but...
Yeah. But from what I remember playing of Rise of the Silver Surfer, or at least on 360 anyways, I just remember being very, very generic brawler. I mean, at first I thought it was cool for like the first 10-15 minutes trying out each character's powers and just kind of getting a good feel for these fused attacks. But then after a while, it's like, wait a second, all these levels, the scenery's like repeating like an old Scooby-Doo cartoon in the background, and it just seemed like very lazy level design, and I just got bored of it within an hour, which, I'm sure I probably would have had some more fun with it if I was playing with a few buddies, but, just on my own there, it seemed like your average movie license game, so.
Beat-em-ups are always better with multiplayer.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
But even multiplayer for you was just, it was just kind of got old after a while.
I didn't play the second one, I just played the first one.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right.
I got them both. I
wouldn't say it was horrible. I didn't notice any bad glitches or anything, but like I said, I'm sure with a couple friends that have been at least bearable.
Yeah. I guess I really don't hate either of these, so. But
continuing the trend of movie license games.
This is actually one you bought me, I remember.
Yeah, I remember I got it for you for a going away present for.
And I came back.
And then you came back. I was like, hey, go away, I got you a gift.
You're like, you should play this.
You should play this.
But it's Ghost Rider on the PS2, 2007 Climax 2K Games. It's actually late in the PS2 cycle, actually.
Yeah, it was actually supposed to come out on Xbox too, but by this point, Xbox was kind of dead in the water. So it came out just on. It actually came out on Game Boy Advance, also on PSP.
Yeah, what is it? We're not doing handhelds.
Yeah,
they don't count.
That's right.
No, it's a single-player action adventure, and it's actually considered a sequel to the film. And Ghost Rider is brought to hell by Mephisto and is forced to stop a group of demons intent on resurrecting Blackheart. And I guess one of the complaints about the game, but something I actually liked about the game, is that it played like a God of War clone. And that's not always a bad thing. I mean, it's nothing great. It's not even close to God of War, but it plays like it.
I mean, that's why I got it for you, too, because I remember you're a huge fan of God of War, and I was thinking, this is probably a movie license game. It's probably not as good, but, Matt likes comic book games. The fact that it borrows God of War controls.
Engine,
as long as it's decent, it should at least be fun.
Well, something else to note is it also features some levels using the Hell Cycle, which are kind of cool. But I'd say the graphics aren't really terrible, but they're nothing spectacular. It's better than standard fare for a movie license game.
No, I mean, do you at least get to use the chains for Ghost Rider there?
Yep.
And
I'm coming up to that.
Oh, okay.
No, there's actually 2 unlockable versions of Ghost Rider you can do. Like after you finish it, you can play as a classic Ghost Rider or 2099, and there's 2 other characters you can play as Blade and Vengeance. But and when you play a Blade, it forgoes Ghost Rider's demonic chains, which, like you just brought up, Ghost Rider, like instead of Kratos has the chains with the blades on him. He has like demonic chains, which is a nice cover for them basically saying, hey, we're going to use God of War's chains. But you change out the chains for Blade's Daywalker sword, and it really cuts down the combos that you can do with it in comparison to Ghost Rider. So it got really mediocre reviews, really. Like, I didn't think it was bad, it was just nothing special. Like, it wasn't really, like, I played a lot worse games out there, but I'm not rushing out to buy this, and I'm like, for what it was, I thought it was pretty good. But it's very short, so... Yeah, you don't pay too much for it if you're going to buy it, but I've read that it's only like 3.5 hours long, which, I don't know, that's not bad. I guess with unlockable characters, maybe go through it again as Blade, but I guess Blade does change the story a little bit, too, so.
Alright, we're not done with the movie licensed comic book games, folks. I guess the way we got this going in order, we got a big streak of them, but...
That's the last one in the streak.
Yeah, but the Hulk... The one based off the...
just Hulk.
Yeah, okay, Hulk. Based off the first movie for PS2, Xbox, and GameCube from Vivendi and was developed by Radical Entertainment. This game wasn't so radical, Matt.
No.
Single-player action game. Eric Bana reprises his role as the Hulk. And in the game, and he acts... This is like a sequel to the film, just like Ghost Rider before this. Takes place 1 year after the film. Players will switch between Hulk and Bruce Banner. I remember like some of the older 16-bit games actually did that too.
Oh God!
You think that would be cool? Like, all right, yeah, that makes sense.
No,
not for the game. The leader for the story also, Bruce Banner's trying to stop the leader from creating an army of gamma creatures. Gamma. That's right. Gamma. Blah. Just like adjusting your graphics, adjust your gamma. Basically, the Hulk levels consist of him smashing stuff. That makes sense. While feeling but on the other hand, it's very confined, and he's limited in moves. But the Bruce Banner levels, he uses stealth to solve puzzles, and you think that makes sense, but these levels are unfortunately very much despised and are the weak point of the game, or the weakest points of the game. The graphics are considered decent using cel-shaded style, and the game focuses on destructible environments. The game garnered mediocre reviews and expectations, and so far the Hulk games haven't delivered on feeling the power and rage that defined the comics, at least up until this point. I don't know if you got a chance to put much time into this one.
I played it back in the day, and the banner levels are so boring. It's like, they wouldn't be bad if they were short, but it's really repetitive, like, simple puzzles.
Yeah.
And they drag on forever, and,
it's just like, I want to be the Hulk.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to play as Banner. Like, I didn't want to play, like, I remember in, like, the 16-bit era, like, the SNES and Genesis Incredible Hulk game that came out. It's like, if you got hurt as the Hulk, you turn into Banner, and, like, Banner was useless in that game. Like, it's like, you get shot once, you're dead as Banner. I'm like, why would you do that? Like, the Hulk's supposed to be, like, unstoppable. Like, oh, you get shot with this tiny bullet, and you fucking turn into Banner, I guess, but... Next game, I'm happy about,
And, surprisingly, since it came from the same developers.
Yeah, I think maybe it was Vivendi holding him back, or maybe them getting, having a rush job on it or something like that, but, The Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. It was on all 3 systems in 2005 by Radical Entertainment as well, and, published by Sierra Entertainment. It's a single-player action sandbox game, which, these were starting to hit really big at the time.
Everyone's riding that GTA wave.
Yep. And the game focuses on Bruce Banner living in isolation, and he's trying to cure himself with the help of Dr. Samson. The Division, which consists of Emil Blonsky, who became the Abomination, and General Ross, attacks the Hulk, believing that treatment is not an option. They don't think he'll ever be cured of it, and they just want to be rid of him. Well, the gameplay involves gathering pieces for a machine to cure Banner, and trying to hinder the Division and their various side missions, including comic collecting and some mini games as well. And I remember one of the mini games was hitting cows and stuff like that, or you take cars and you crumple them up and try to kick them through a field goal.
Oh, yeah, I remember doing that.
Yeah, I'm that stuff was fun as hell. I played that forever doing that. But controls are really responsive, which was nice, and the game's a ton of fun to play. Like, you can run up walls, tear up streets, destroy buildings, and, like, you can literally knock down, like, entire skyscrapers by doing certain moves.
Yeah, I remember doing that. Yeah, like the sense of speed and
And that was
destruction
the one, like, you could take
awesome.
a bus and, like, smash it up and then, like, surf on it.
Yeah.
Or, like, take a cop car and rip it in half and use it as boxing
Yeah,
gloves.
use them as car hands. That's awesome.
And the whole time you earn points, and you can upgrade your character, and there's like over 150 moves for him, which is really awesome. Some of the villains that appear in the game are Abomination, of course, Mercy, the Devil Hulk, and General Ross in this giant mech battle suit that you have to fight later on. And the graphics are fairly good. A lot of detail was used for the two areas of the game, the city and the Badlands. One thing I will say, though, is like I tried playing this on my HD TV, and it really doesn't hold up. So I don't know whether it's just it doesn't look good in HD, but I don't have the...
Did you do it through backwards compatibility?
No, I don't have backwards compatibility on mine, so I was playing on my PS2, so...
Oh, okay.
I don't know, it just didn't look as good today, so depending on your TV, it might not look as good. It was kind of fuzzy looking, I guess, if I could put it that way, but I don't know, the game finally gives you like a taste of playing as the Hulk. I mean, like, just lets you do almost whatever you want in a sandbox, and you just smash everything in your way, and I'm like... At that time, what else could you ask for a whole game? Like,
well, yeah, I threw it in, like, I bought it, like, about a year ago, or a little over a year ago, and I found it in, like, a clearance bin, and I was like, alright, I remember Matt really talking this game up. I remember it being received pretty well, and, I'm right with you, dude. The sense of speed and destruction is just awesome. Open world Hulk game, it works, and, I remember running up walls as Hulk, and just, like you said, all the moves you unlock, the game is just a blast to play until you got to a time-based mission, which...
I know a lot of people have trouble with those, I hear.
I put the game on easy. I just wanted to run around as Hulk and, smash shit up. And I was having a blast for, like, several hours doing that, and then I got this time-based mission, and you had, like, several minutes to, like, blow up all these tanks. Something? I remember you had to blow up a bunch of tanks. Yeah, I think you had to protect...
while the army was attacking?
Yeah, while the army was attacking something you had to protect. And
I think everybody had trouble with that, actually.
And at first I was like, okay, I'll give it a few tries. I'll get the hang of it. I'll beat it. And I must have tried that mission about a dozen times. I just couldn't beat it. And unfortunately, it ruined the game for me. I couldn't get past it. And I wanted to throw it in again, but I need your help, buddy. I suck.
Jump over the next ones here real quick, and I'll throw it back to you. The Incredible Hulk on the PS2, which was a movie licensed game.
And based off of Edward Norton.
Yeah, we're going to cover that in the next show as well. Mm-hmm. It came out on this system, but I'm pretty sure it's just intention to be a next-gen game.
Yeah.
But just in short, it's kind of like... If I had to sum it up quickly, it was a clone of Ultimate Destruction, only not as good.
Okay.
So... And then the next one is Iron Man as well on PS2, which I think this was just like to cash in on the PS2 still having some life in it. Because I can't imagine how bad this is on the PS2.
Right.
Because the 360 version's terrible. So, yeah.
And with that, I think we'll take a quick time out here before we pick up and jam out to some crazy dance music. Welcome back. And we're going to come back to Judge Dredd, Dredd vs. Death. Yes, they did make another Judge Dredd game after the one on Super Nintendo and Genesis. This one came out on PS2, Xbox, and GameCube from Rebellion and Sierra. Yes, Rebellion, the same people that made Rogue Trooper, a game we'll be talking about later on.
Yeah.
But this one is a multiplayer first-person shooter based on the 2000 AD comics and not the movie. No Sly Stallone in here, folks.
I'm the law.
You will be judged. Judge Dredd must defeat Dr. Icarus and the Dark Judges who have released a virus that turns people into vampires or zombies.
That sounds crazy.
Very
crazy enough to work.
Crazy enough that it'll cause Judge Dredd to use all his trademark weapons like the Lawgiver and can choose to carry an assortment of other weapons, including the Arbitrator and the Law Rod Rifle.
I love the name of the Law Rod. And the Arbitrator sounded funny to me. I had to include those two. I was like, unleash the power of the Arbitrator.
It's authentic to the comics.
Yes, and watch as Judge Dredd uses his Law Rod.
And it kind of incorporated a first-person shooter staple at the time, where it's still today, where you can only carry two weapons at a time.
You only need the Law Rod.
Players can make use of the Law Meter, which is lowered or raised depending on how you uphold justice. The game was kind of had a weak reception, but the bulk of the gameplay was comparable to Time Splitters, which I was a fan of, but this game just couldn't do. Reviews stated that the multiplayer was far better than the main game, and the graphics and enemy AI were lacking.
I heard there was really bad AI for this game, so I haven't played it yet, and I don't think I played Time Splitters either, actually.
Oh, Time Splitters is awesome.
But if there's anything to remember about this game, it's the Law Rod. And how funny that is. They need to make a Judge Dredd porn and still incorporate the Law Rod. Because that's what you'd think of. Hold on, let me get my Law Rod.
There probably is a Law Rod in some portal or something.
Let's hope. Let's just imagine there is.
RoboCop beat him to it.
I really like this story, though, because I was reading and I'm like, they're going to bring vampires and zombies. Like, I guess I've never read any of the Judge Dredd 2000 AD comics, which I've always wanted to, but I don't know.
You only read the DC ones they came out for like a year or two after the movie.
I've never read a Judge Dredd comic, so unfortunately. I felt that they lacked the Rob Schneider of the Stallone Judge Dredd. Without his humor, I can't handle their comics. I'm sorry, I'll stop. Law Rod.
Why don't you start on some Justice League Heroes?
I can. Another game you actually got me to play.
Yes.
It's PS2 and Xbox 2006 Snowblind Warner Brothers. It's a multiplayer action adventure with RPG elements. You battle Brainiac and other villains to save the Earth from destruction. It's a pretty basic storyline. I mean, most superhero games is like defeats, blank from destroying the Earth or the universe.
Save the insert world here.
Yeah. It's one of those type of games. But I hate to say it, it kind of plays like a poor man's version of X-Men Legends. And I'm not going to say that that's bad. It's just not as good as X-Men Legends.
Hold the phone. This is made by the guys who made Dark Alliance and Champions. Very awesome isometric action RPGs, dungeon crawlers by Snowblind Studios, and I thought it was quite good. I don't know what you're saying. Poor man's.
I don't think it's as good as X-Men Legends.
I think they both kind of have, even though they're both kind of like have the isometric perspective and are action RPGs, both kind of have like a different feel to them.
Well, I'll give you that. It was. I'll talk more about some of the gameplay later, but I guess a lot of characters that you can choose between, and just kind of go through this really quick. The multiple characters you can play as are Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, the Jon Stewart version, The Flash, Martian Manhunter, and Zatanna. And unlockable characters are Aquaman, Black Canary, Green Arrow, Green Lantern, the Hal Jordan and Kyle Rayner versions, Supergirl, Huntress, and Hawkgirl. And some of the villains you'll be facing off against are Brainiac, Circe, Darkseid, I pronounce it wrong every time, Doomsday, the General, Gorilla Grodd, Killer Frost, the Key, Prometheus, Parademons, Queen Bee, the White Martians, and Zoom. And players can use 2 predetermined characters per level and can switch freely between the 2 in single-player mode. And I think that's one of the things I didn't like, is that it's kind of a double-edged sword by having player-specific levels. Like, you can't swap between any characters in the Justice League. You just have, like, Superman and the Flash. And if you're playing 2-player, you're stuck with, whatever. But, I don't know, that was one of my few gripes about the game. But graphics are pretty decent. There's a little bit of complexity in the nuances of each characters. You actually need to learn how to use the characters' differences and powers as you approach each encounter. Like, you can't play the game the same as every character. Like, you have to, kind of get a feel for that character. But I was going to say it's not one of the greatest games, but it is a good way to kill an afternoon. I was going to say we did have a lot of fun with it, but we played it on the 360.
Backwards compatibility is ass.
Yes, a lot of slowdown. So if you have original Xbox or PS2 version, play it on that.
Yeah,
but 360 is not.
Yeah,
not good.
I kind of like that. I don't know. You said you didn't like how it forced you to be just 2 characters for each mission. I kind of did like that, however, just because it actually got you to mix up the roster. I mean, sure you may have ran into a character you didn't like here and there, but for the most part, I like that it kind of forced it upon you, just because it was different, and you got a chance to play with all the roster. I know with most of the Ultimate Alliance games, I'll try out as many as I can, but usually I just stick to just a few
Wolverine.
Core, No, not usually Juggernaut usually, but yeah, so I kind of like that it did that in this game. I remember the cutscenes were really cool too. Like they were actually in-game cutscenes, and they were far more animated and distinct than the ones I saw in Ultimate Alliance.
No, I'll give you that. I think we're kind of I'm not really being hard on the game. I did like it a lot. I just didn't like it as much as that one, but that's my opinion. So
You suck. Just kidding.
All right, I'll let you jump on this one.
All right. Well, we kind of talked a lot about this on the last episode, but just to throw it out here, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 New Age of Heroes. We talked about it a lot last episode because it was initially released on the Dreamcast on consoles, but it also, a couple years later, got released on PS2 and Xbox. But these were kind of lackluster ports, to make mention of it. They were limited in production due to Capcom, because at the time they lost the Marvel license to Activision, and they just couldn't put the game out in high production like they wanted to, and they were originally planning to have like online play for those too, but then it got dropped because I think at the time they were releasing it, their deal was just about to expire, and Marvel's like, no, you can't have online play, and so they had to be cut. And I remember running across this in the stores for years, and the game just kept going up in price because it was hard to come by or it was in high demand. And yeah, it was at one point went for over $100, and it has since dropped a little because the game got released on PSN and XBLA for dirt cheap. So yeah, definitely, if you see these in the store, don't get the PS2 or Xbox versions. They aren't as good. And I remember the Xbox version too. Like there's some little graphical hiccups and like some little gameplay balance tweaks which kind of not break the game, but kind of break the flow you're used to from the Dreamcast version. And this game is another one where the backwards compatibility is fucked up on the 360. I remember my brother brought his copy over, and like the backgrounds look great. You still have those same awesome CG backdrops, but the character models are just like pixely messes.
Yep.
So yeah.
I don't know. I had the PS2 version. I've actually had both versions, but the PS2 one had really bad slowdown when I played it. Mm-hmm. And Dreamcast is still the one to get. I think that, like I said, the most I've ever seen the game so far was $125 on the PS2, and I think they're down with like $50 now.
Yeah,
but they're still not worth. I mean, seriously, the Dreamcast version is probably $50. Mm-hmm. That's the one to get, or just download it. Which we're going to talk about some of the tweaks that they made to the DLC version of it, or the downloadable version of it on the PS3 and Xbox Live, which is kind of hit or miss for me, but. Yeah, we'll just kind of jump into the next game.
Yeah, this next one's actually another Marvel fighter that was actually designed for this one. Wasn't ported, and it actually, you could tell that it really helped.
Okay.
Make it suck.
Yeah, this is a bad one. Marvel Nemesis, Rise of the Imperfects. It came out in all consoles, 2005, Nihilistic EA partnership. It was a multiplayer fighting / beat-em-up game. And I say that because it was supposed to be a fighting game, but you had to,
you kind of ran around in like a little open arena, kind of like Heavy Metal last gen. At least from what I remember.
Nope, they had full levels in there. There was a full storyline that you had to play through to unlock a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, I just played a demo, and I don't remember the demo it was doing. It was kind of like a little mini area.
The fighting is an open arena kind of thing. Okay. But, go through the story here. Niles Van Rokel attempts to create the perfect weapon in an attempt at alien invasion, and it has 6 failures, and these become the imperfects. The Marvel heroes must fight these failures and prevent the invasion. The game had a comic book counterpart based off of it, and it actually contradicted in the storyline, but the two are pretty much both bad. I remember I'm like, okay, they're doing a 6-issue miniseries. Like, the miniseries, I kind of dug the art, but I don't like, oh, okay, I'm going to throw 6 new characters out there because EA is going to release a video game, but the storyline, I don't know, it's one of those things, I kind of got bored with. I'm like, I went into this expecting a fighting game, and I got a crappy platformer instead. The fighting's not bad by any means, but... The single-player mode was really sloppy and repetitive, and the fighting engine was kind of uneven. But, I mean, they're still, playing with the buddy is still pretty good. But it's not so much skill, but luck would win fights, so it's just depending on who you're playing as. Kind of to pick out the roster here, you got the Marvel roster was Captain America, Doctor Doom, Human Torch, Magneto, Storm, Venom, Daredevil, Elektra, Iron Man, Spider-Man, The Thing, and Wolverine. It's pretty much your staple Marvel characters there. The Imperfects roster, with their ridiculous names, is Brigade, who was another comic book character, actually, from, I think, Image.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds about right.
Yep. And Fault Zone, Hazmat, Johnny Ohm, Solara, Paragon, and the Wink. I guess the only thing really worthwhile about this game is the unlockables. There's comics and bios and stuff like that. But a funny thing to note, actually a couple funny notes, the Imperfects are actually supposed to be in continuity for the comic books, but they've never shown back up again. They did that 6-issue miniseries, and that was it. So, and I'm fine with that. Because I actually have the 6 issues. And
what was the name of the series called? Just like the Imperfects?
Marvel Nemesis, Rise of the Imperfects. Yeah. But the game was the first and last in a partnership with EA, and there was supposed to be a sequel. And I think you know about this. Like, it's by the guys that did like Def Jam.
Yeah, Def Jam Icon, and the first couple of Fight Night games, EA Chicago.
Yeah, and I remember actually seeing footage of the game, like outside of a courthouse or something like that.
No, actually, Game Trailers TV back when it was known as Gamehead. They actually did a special on it where they're interviewing the developers at EA Chicago, and they showed a lot of footage. And from what I remember, it looked like it's like a next gen version of Marvel Nemesis. That's what I remember from the footage they showed. And I remember they showed like seeing Captain America getting punched, uppercutted from a fighting area into like through a window into a building in another area next door. And
it actually looked good, I'd say.
Me, I remember seeing the footage at the time, just going, "Oh, great, another Marvel Nemesis game." I mean, like I said, just from my brief memories of the demo of Marvel Nemesis,
no, I thought it looked better than Marvel Nemesis. So.
I mean, yeah, the graphics looked a lot better on that show, and I don't know, like you could still, I think, go and download them off the Xbox Live Marketplace. I'm sure you can find in the old Gamehead archives, but that game never saw the light of day because I guess EA Chicago was suffering bad times because Def Jam Icon flopped in the sales pretty bad, and so EA shut them down, and the game never saw the light of day. I mean, they just didn't see too much promise in the follow-up. So
yeah, I just think the whole thing was a disaster. Like, the comic went nowhere. It was just a marketing ploy, and I don't think even the comic did that well. Like, I bought him just because I used to have like a Marvel All is what I used to be referred to at the comic store because I had like subscription to everything Marvel. I used to get one of everything, and occasionally crap like this comes through the filter, so, But, I don't know. This is one of those things. Like, I remember I paid full price for this, too.
$50?
Yep, I paid it. I got it on launch. I was like, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it at launch. And everybody's like, don't buy it. And I'm like, I started playing. I'm like, no.
Tried taking it back to the store. I got the wrong game, sir.
Well, I did that with Naughty Bear, so.
Oh, you actually did?
No, I didn't take it back, but I bought it without waiting. But you got a big one here.
Oh, God.
You want me to cover the roster when we get to it?
I don't know.
I'm pretty good with the names, Dale.
I tried to, just for a little precursor here to this next game, I tried to go with Matt. Let's just cover some highlights of the roster of this game because it's so huge of all the characters, NPCs, and villains. But Matt would have none of it.
No.
So
that's part of the fun about this is like, I didn't know that character was in the game.
But we'll make it a little fun for you, for the people like me who may not be a Marvel hardcore guy like Matt here, and some of these names will go right over the head. But the game in question here is Marvel Ultimate Alliance. It's coming out on PS2, Xbox, and I believe GameCube. But it came out in 2006 from Raven and Activision. And, this is a 4-player action RPG dungeon crawler. Kind of like Justice League Heroes, but yeah, I like Justice League Heroes a little more than you, but I do like Marvel Ultimate Alliance a lot more. It's based on a lot of the comic books. The Master of Evil attacks a shield helicarrier right in the opening mission, and the Marvel heroes are called into action. A team is assembled to take down Doom and his sinister group before they destroy the universe. And essentially, this is the third game in the Raven Software dungeon crawl series following the 2 X-Men and Legend games. The gameplay, you put it similar to Gauntlet, but I think it's more similar to Diablo, but with Marvel action hero.
I put like Baldur's Gate, like I try to use different references because it does remind me of like I say all those games are similar to Gauntlet because it brings me back to the top-down 4-player hack and slash. Yeah. And that's what I always think when I play these games. So Gauntlet's like a perfect reference for people that don't play games too. Because I'm like, when I'm talking to people, like they're like, well, I haven't played Diablo. Well, I haven't played, what is the other game I'm thinking of? Baldur's Gate. And they're just like, well, I haven't played those. And I'm like, well, you played Gauntlet, right? I'm like, everybody's played Gauntlet, and I guess that's the best way I can explain it is it's not necessarily top-down, but it's, over-the-top characters, 4-player action, kind of beat-em-up hack and slash.
But I thought, like, since... I think it's better reference to like Diablo or Dark Alliance because since those games,
I do actually for the X-Men Legends one.
Level up and stats and all that, like the same kind of progression as that game. But
warrior needs food.
Yeah, you cannot shoot the food in this game. There's a ton of unlocks. That's another thing I loved about this game too. You can unlock a lot of concept art costumes. I remember you unlocked every single costume for the characters. You went all out, completing each goal to unlock all the costumes. Like get a lot of cool old school costumes, Ultimate Universe costumes, and a lot of good bonuses. And And yeah, you got bonuses for choosing certain teams too, like just all 4 Fantastic Four or 4 X-Men.
Like Femme Fatales if you pick all, or like natural disasters or something like that.
Yeah, the graphics are pretty good for the era, and the sound is decent and fitting to each area of the game. And I remember too, example like the arcades level. I remember the circus and like going like the pinball level. That was just
Pitfall, dude.
Yeah, the Pitfall minigame.
Pitfall was awesome. Yeah, there's like a Pitfall minigame in the middle of the game. I was just like, what the hell? Like, that's awesome.
That was pretty sweet. Yeah.
This is one where you found a blade in the crane machine too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
the blade's just hanging out in a crane machine in Murder World.
Now, before we get down to covering the massive roster here, I just want to state that long-time listeners of the show may remember this, but it took me 6 tries to eventually beat this game. 6 start-overs. I'm blaming part of this on you, Matt. 3 of them were with you.
We'll play it again, Dale. I actually need to play.
I started the first time I played it on the original Xbox, right around the time the game came out, and my brother came by and a couple of his friends were like, yeah, let's play this. It'll be just like X-Men Legends. Let's do this. And we played through the first mission, the Shield Helicarrier mission. We beat that mission, and then we're like, yeah, let's play this again. And we never did. And then like a year or so later, you're surprised that I didn't beat it yet. And you had it on PS2 at the time only. And we started it on PS2, beat the first mission, never went back to it. And then like another year later, I got it. I met up with you again, and this time you had it on 360, and we're like, all right, let's play it on 360.
Gold edition, yep.
And we had, like, I think, a few play sessions, and we got pretty far in the game, about halfway through. And then I came over next time, like, all right, so we're ready to play Ultimate Alliance? And you're like, well, Dale, I kind of beat the game. But don't worry, I got all our dudes leveled up, and this way we'll go by the game faster. We'll be able to beat it faster. I'm like, oh, okay. We beat, like, the first level, and we never went back to it again. Thanks, Matt.
I've beaten this game like 5 times, and I'm like...
Then, about a year later, a few coworkers were like, what? You never beat that? Let's play it. And on PS2, going back to PS2 this time, I even brought my multiplayer adapter, dug that out of the closet, and we played it 2 days straight, and we played it a lot, and we got the farthest I ever did. We got back to like those Thor-based levels, and where you were...
Asgard? Yep.
Yeah, the Asgard bodyguards or something, and...
What?
Not bodyguards, the Asgard... gods. You're rescuing
bodyguards.
I'm thinking bodyguards. They're the bodyguards for Thor's hammer. But yeah, you're rescuing the gods that are trapped or whatever. And yeah, and I played that for 2 days straight. Got the farthest I ever did. And then a few days later, I'm like, all right, so we gotta pick this up. And they're like, nah, god damn it. And then finally found another coworker who was like, hey, let's play this on Xbox Live on 360. And at this point, I was just like, really? And we got about halfway through it, and then we took a few months off. I thought I wasn't even going to get back to it again. But nope, we actually did pick it up again. I finally did beat it, I think, just like a few months before the Ultimate Alliance 2 came out.
All right. Well, I'm actually going to talk about the Ultimate Alliance on the 360 as well, because they did do some different things with it on the Xbox 360. So,
okay.
But I'll let you finish this up, too.
No, that's all I got for my epic tale of my quest to beat Ultimate Alliance. And it was like a 3-year journey, but I finally beat it. All right, Matt. Now, I believe you got like a bunch of characters that roster to run down.
Well, I want to make a note, though. Something about the graphics as well is that they were actually planning on being cel-shaded originally. Like, they were going to cel-shade it like the first 2 X-Men Legends were, but they decided they wanted to separate the brand. Mm-hmm. So, that's kind of... I'm kind of glad they didn't, because, I don't want to have every game looking the same, but...
I know it's worth knowing we both consider this like one of our top favorite comic book games still.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. I actually like this one better than the second one. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, same here.
Show, so. Okay. This game featured over 140 Marvel characters, ranging from mainstays to obscure. No. You ready for this, Dale?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Playable roster includes Black Panther, Blade, Captain America, Daredevil, Doctor Strange, Deadpool, Ghost Rider, Elektra, Human Torch, Iceman, Invisible Woman, Iron Man, Luke Cage, Mr. Fantastic, Miss Marvel, Nick Fury, Silver Surfer, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Storm, Thing, Thor, and Wolverine. The villains include Arcade, Atuma, Baron Mordo, Blackheart, Bullseye, Byra, Crimson Dynamo, Destroyer, Dragon Man, Doctor Doom, Enchantress, Executioner, Fing Fang Foom, Galactus, Gladiator, Green Goblin, Grey Gargoyle, Hussar, Kraken, Krang, Curse, Lizard, Loki, Mandarin, Modok, Mysterio, Neutron, Radioactive Man, Pybok, Rhino, Scorpion, Shocker, Starbolt, Super Skrull, Swordsman, Tiger Shark and Titanium Man, Titanus, Ulik, Ultimo, Ultron, Winter Soldier, Warstar, Whirlwind, The Wrecking Crew, Venom, and Yer. Characters that also appeared in the game: Ancient One, Baldur, Black Bolt, Bruce Banner, Clea, Corsair, Crystal, Dum Dum Dugan, Edward Jarvis, Gorgon, Hank Pym, Heimdall, Hermod, Jean Grey, Karnak, Lilandra Naramani, Lockjaw, Medusa, Namor, Namorita, Odin, Professor X, Senator Kennedy, Sif, Skrulls, Tyr, Uatu the Watcher, Valkyrie, Vision, Vala, Weasel, Wong, Wyatt, Wingfoot. Alright. It's your turn again, Dale.
Alright, you gotta remember that for a quiz. Not.
Yeah, you have to name all of them back to me.
In order.
No, I'm just kidding. That's not a real quiz. You should pay me for doing that.
But I will say that's the reason why I like this game over Ultimate Alliance 2 is because just the roster is better. I think like the playable roster, they have some good additions in the second game, but like the villains, the ones you face off against, a lot more recognizable faces, and especially the final boss fight against Galactus. Man, that was a blast. That was a fun time. Just like
he wasn't the final boss fight.
Yeah, he wasn't. He led up to the final boss fight. But I remember that one stood out the most to me. I just thought that Galactus battle is probably like one of my favorite comic book villain battles in all of gaming. So just had a blast with that game. All right. We said we'll save Ultimate Alliance 2, even though it came out on PS2. We'll save it for the next show.
You got to bring up too. The actual game was going to be called Marvel Legends originally, and they decided to change it because of the defunct toy line. But later on, actually, it's coming back, I should say. But and I guess they were going to call it Marvel Comics RPG during development as well. So I'd say probably best comic book game this generation, maybe.
Yep.
Maybe not. Maybe I don't know. I like it. It's one of my favorites out of the whole genre.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorites. For like one of the ones that come to mind right now, I'll say it's definitely.
I'd say even on the 360 actually. I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to count on the 360 because it's a.
No,
I guess it came on the same time as the other versions, but I always kind of thought of it more as a last gen game than a this gen game.
But it's still though for a comic book game. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying for like all the games for comic book games. So, I mean, it's one of the top ones. So. Mm-hmm. That's not hard to say, though, because, I mean, there's a lot of bad ones. But.
Like this next one. Matt, I think I'll let you tackle this one since you played it. I've never even had any hands-on time with it. Okay,
I've only put in a couple hours in this, and I tried to play it 2 players, so that'll go into it. But it's Marvel's Superhero Squad on the PS2. It's 2009 mass media THQ, and I think this was only released on the PS2, the Wii, the DS, and the PSP, so it didn't make it in any other consoles.
See, I had high expectations for this because I remember mass media, they did the ever so awesome port of StarCraft 64. So, just to hear that this disappointed was a big letdown.
That's basically just like a multiplayer beat-em-up game, and there's 2 modes of gameplay. Adventure, which 2 characters battle through the story, one player can swap between characters, and co-op has drop and drop out. It's kind of the standard beat-em-up gameplay, like kind of the Lego games introduced, like just somebody's playing, come in, whatever. Battle is kind of free-for-all, similar to Smash Brothers. So, the story consists of Doctor Doom trying to find the fractal remnants of the Infinity Sword, and it's up to the Superhero Squad to stop him. Players will travel to Asgard, the Vault, Asteroid M, Villainville, and Superhero City, of which Stan Lee voices the mayor. Playable characters include Captain America, Falcon, Hulk, Iron Man, Invisible Woman, Miss Marvel, Silver Surfer, Nightcrawler, Spider-Man, Storm, Thing, Thor, U.S. Agent, and Wolverine. And along the way, you'll fight AIM agents, the Abomination, Crimson Dynamo, Doctor Doom, Juggernaut, Loki, Magneto, MODOK, Moleman, Sabretooth, and the Sentinels. Graphics are pretty decent, the voice work is spotty, but the camera, however, is just a mess. Like, the co-op camera tries to follow both characters. And it just does not work. Like, I'd be playing it, and it'd focus on my character, and you couldn't see my partner. Or you could see my partner, and I couldn't see what's going on. And I'm like, you really don't need to, because all you have to do is just button mash. And really, I mean, literally just button mash. It's really repetitive, and like, I even at $20, it's not worth it unless I could see how kids would like it, but even still, like, I'm gonna give it another try on single player to maybe hope the camera's a little bit better. But oh my god, even after 2 hours, I was really bored with it. So I would like to do the next one actually as well.
Nope.
Oh well, no, you got the Punisher coming up.
Oh, that's what I got for my next one.
Oh, I got Men in Black 2, Alien Escape.
Oh, I must have deleted that accidentally.
Did you?
No, I think I must have. Whoops. Oh, no, it's there. I see it.
I treated this game like a bastard, so. Men in Black 2.
How dare you treat your comic book games this way?
Yeah.
Or is this more based off the movie?
We'll find out. Men in Black 2 Alien Escape on the PS2 and GameCube in 2002 is Melbourne House Infogrames. It's a multiplayer action adventure, and this is the deep story. Play it as Agent J or K and stop aliens from destroying the Earth. It's no jumping, just shoot everything.
Yes.
It's like Contra, only not good at all. It's just poor graphics, sound, and controls. Everything's bad about it. Bad reviews. Like, really, I'm like, okay, Men in Black 2 was kind of like, squeeze some more money out of that franchise. I'm like, let's make another crappy game based off the movie. And, like, everything I've seen about this, I watched videos, read reviews, it's literally side-scrolling with no jumping, and you just keep shooting. So you could literally just keep pushing X and run to the side and finish this game. If you can, because, you know, bad controls, who knows. But I'm like, yeah, I don't want to play this. So that's my bastard cover of Men in Black 2 Aliens. I have a couple of these on here if you noticed.
Yes.
But, yeah. Dale could tell when I was getting tired of taking notes. So.
Especially for games you don't care for.
All right. This is all you, Dale.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Talking about The Punisher for PS2 and Xbox in 2005 by THQ and Volition, you know, the same guys responsible for the Red Faction and Saints Row games. So, you know, this game was not too shabby, you know, for, you know, being a Punisher fanboy like myself. And this was like the first Punisher game released since the awesome arcade port on the Genesis version, and that was like 12, 13 years earlier. So I was very excited and giddy to see a brand new single-player focused Punisher game. And this isn't based on the movie. It came out about a year after the movie, but it does have Thomas Jane, who played the Punisher in the movie. He voices the Punisher, so that was cool. They're having some tie-ins to the movie in that fashion. But this one is a third-person shooter with the plot focused initially focused on around Garth Ennis's awesome Welcome Back Frank story arc, and which returned the Punisher to dominance in the Marvel universe, and then it plows after going through a few missions dealing with the Welcome Back Frank story arc, where you're fighting the Russian and going after the very feared and much hated gang group headed up by Ma Nuki. Then you go and plow through Punisher's trademark roster of villains, featuring such classics as Bushwhacker, Nick Fury isn't your villain, but he's a partner with you and helps you out. Same with Matt Murdock. Not in Daredevil form. He's actually your lawyer in this game. And you also get appearances by Bullseye and Tony Stark and Jigsaw. You know, what better way to finish a Punisher game than Jigsaw? And the story takes place also, like, you do all these missions because Punisher gets caught by the cops in the beginning of the game, and as he's getting questioned by detectives, he kind of uses his stories as flashback missions, so that's like the way they kind of get you going from mission to mission. And, yeah, I know, I like the gameplay, you know, it's a third-person action shooter, but it kind of tries to be a little too much like Max Payne, I think. But I mean, for the most part, it's still a fairly decent third-person action game. The Punisher can walk up and do instant kills to people and disarm enemies and use them as human shields. And also, when you kill enough people in a row, you kind of go into slaughter mode.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like this black and white, kind of like Comic Ink style invincibility mode where Punisher will go around throwing knives at everybody. And it's pretty badass. And I think this was one of the first games at the time. It kind of got used a lot in some other games later on, where you can interrogate suspects for extra info and kind of like beat them up more to find out where to go next or find hidden items or stuff like that. And you could get some pretty cool level specific fatalities, like early on, like you're in the marina, and you can shove a person into a piranha tank and have the piranhas eat you up. So there's just all kinds of crazy stuff like that.
I thought those got a little repetitive at times too. Like, every once in a while I find one, I'm like, oh, okay, it's the same.
Yeah, I mean, if I saw them right away, I'd like skip some from time to time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess seeing it the first time in the game, it was kind of cool. And I kind of like they had a cool main menu hub for the game. It was divided up where you had like the War Zone was where you went to access your missions, and War Journal for clippings, news clippings of people, of bosses you've beaten, and access to unlock cheats and comic covers. And this is another game I reviewed way back when. I pulled off another quote here. THQ could have easily made an addicting shooter that would have kept Punisher fanboys happy for months. Instead, we get this Max Payne ripoff that simply fails to capture the same magic it did. It seems like a perfect genre to place the Punisher in, but something went wrong. The development cycle that made this journey mediocre at best. I guess I was kind of a little harsher on it than I am today. I threw it in again to put it in for about another hour just to kind of get used to it, and I think I just got off a Max Payne kick, and that's probably where my harsh comparisons came in, but...
It's because of how disappointed you were, Dale. You're like, hey, great, a new Punisher game.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch!
What's this Max Payne piece of dog shit? No,
And in hindsight, after No Mercy, it's a great game.
It is a great game, yes. So yeah, if you see this one, it's definitely worth tracking down. Volition, they know their stuff. Like I said, there are some bad points to it, but
that's only about $10 used.
Yeah, definitely pick this one up.
All right, do you want to cover the next one again? Just because I think you've had a little more hands-on time, and
yeah, like I said, this is the one I had it for a while, and I saw it on the list here, and I never even threw it in yet, so I decided good way to catch up on my backlog and make some progress researching this retrospective. So Rogue Trooper, who came out on PS2 and Xbox in 2006 from Rebellion and IDOS. And this is another third-person action shooter, but this one has cover-based mechanics. So that's kind of like your core gameplay. And for the story, it's based off the same universe that Judge Dredd came from, the 2000 AD universe. And you're the last survivor of like a genetic race that got betrayed by their creators. And their race has the ability for their chip AI to be removed after death and installed into their gear, and your main character is named Rogue, and his 3 squad mates die early on in the beginning levels of the game, and so they're inserted into his gear and can assist him with aiming, reloading, and occasionally chiming in with your bromance banter. So, and killed enemies can be harvested for parts to use to make more ammo and earn weapon upgrades, and I was kind of intrigued by the lore in the universe, and especially with a huge encyclopedia that unlocks more info, comic art, and entries as the game progresses. And the core gameplay shooting mechanics, it works, it's serviceable, but it seems like something's missing to keep me hooked after those first few levels. And I wasn't starting to get bored, but there wasn't anything too exciting to keep me amped. It could be too that this game's is a 4-year-old last-gen game. It could be starting to feel a little dated by now, but that may have had something to do with it. But
I just heard that it was kind of bland, like maybe mediocre. Like the story was kind of bland, but
well, I think, like I said, I like the universe and the setting, and I wasn't used to that kind of thing. You use your partner's AI, they live on with you, and they still talk to you, and I thought that was kind of cool, but like I said, it just seems like that something intangible is missing. So
like they based the whole game just on that idea, and didn't really have anywhere to go beyond that.
They could have done more with it. The game's 15 missions, but I only got about 4 or 5 missions in, so I think I will go back to it and beat it
really short too,
eventually. I won't say I got through those 4 or 5 missions in about a couple hours, but in this day and age, if a game's a short game, that's more motivation for me to play it, because I got so many longer games that are holding me down. So, but yeah, if you see it, if you see in the bargain bin for cheap, I'd recommend giving it a try. I mean, I don't regret buying this one. All right, now I remember this next game. I haven't played, but I know a coworker told me many tales of it being a bitch to play because it was pretty hard. Have you played this one, Matt? I know you.
I didn't. I read about this, and really, nobody had anything bad or good to say about it. They're just like, it came out, Shadow Man Second Coming on the PS2 only, actually. It's 2002 acclaim, single-player action adventure. And I used a question mark after this when I typed it because it's really confusing. It's loosely based on the Valiant comics, and you fight the Grigori, who are demons, hell-bent on bringing the return of their leader, Asmodeus, I guess. So, I guess the graphics are decent, but it plays like a platformer with an emphasis on collecting. I guess it's just got a weak story, and I guess the enemies are the game's downfall. And I really don't have much on this. I guess it got decent reviews, and it's just nothing special. I don't know much about it other than what the story is, and that it was kind of just one of those it came out and nothing was really done about it. Just kind of went and gone,
Mm-hmm. Like I said, all I remember this is there was a old coworker of mine right around the time the game came out, kept asking me for help on the game. I'm like, dude, I haven't played it, and then he just kind of kept giving me updates every couple of weeks on his ongoing struggles with progressing on each chapter. And eventually, I think after like a year or so, he finally did beat the game. But like, I remember we played the first one on PS1, but
the first one, like going back, it really dated, but. I mean, like I remember playing it when it came out, and I didn't think it was bad. And I don't think I ever played the second one. I have the second one, and so I probably should have thrown it in to get a little more gameplay on it. But I guess I wasn't. I just had this meh feeling about it. Like
the power of God didn't compel you to throw it in.
No, it didn't. All
right. Spawn Armageddon is this next one, and this was came out on PS2, Xbox, and GameCube in 2003 from Namco and developed by Point of View. And
they stuck around.
Yeah. What?
I just like all these comic games are like these no-name developers.
Yeah.
Like disappear after.
Well, I think I've heard of Point of View. I think that name sounds familiar. I think they worked on a few other things, but yeah, this was a single-player action adventure, and the story's taken from the first 100 issues of Spawn, and Todd McFarlane directed the production of the game.
For better or worse.
Spawn recalls his transformation as the battle between heaven and hell begins, with little story development until the end. Gameplay is kind of similar to Devil May Cry and God of War, and now that you mention it in your notes here, I do remember footage of it now with kind of Spawn going all crazy with his, I want to say like chain attacks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, making appearances in the game are Violator, Mammon, Cygor, Malboja, Goddess, and Spawn uses the Agony Axe chains and guns to blaze through enemies with comic covers and upgrades to unlock. Matt has here on his notes that the graphics and sound are awesome, but lackluster and repetitive gameplay made it a forgettable game. What's your take on it?
I have a love-hate thing with Todd McFarlane. Like, Spawn should have been cool. Like, I have the first 6 issues, and I've read them, and I really liked it. And I kept reading a little bit more, and I'm just like, Like, I don't know, I don't like having that attitude towards anything, but Todd McFarlane, I kind of hate him, in a way. Like, I hate saying it, like, I like the Spawn the animated series and stuff like that, but
you love his toys.
Some of them. You seen the Prince of Persia ones?
Have you seen that new Halo Legendary figure?
Which one?
Like, the one that came with the Legendary Edition.
Oh, yeah, I did. He's good at some figures, but he's got some really bad ones out there, too, so... He's got some bad football figures coming out for sports fans if you guys are interested. But, no, I just... Todd McFarlane's great in name, but don't watch his interviews. He just comes off as a huge douchebag. Like, I feel bad about it. I'm like, Todd McFarlane, just go away. Like, I probably come off as a huge douchebag, but I'm not a millionaire, so... If I was a millionaire, I wouldn't care. Like, ha, I sell toys and write shitty comics. But anyways, yeah. I don't know. I really don't have too much to say about this one. I think Marilyn Manson did a song for the soundtrack, didn't he?
He sure did.
You're like, ugh. I think he did, actually. I'm pretty sure he did. I remember that was like, Marilyn Manson used a Spawn. He made a music video for the movie soundtrack, so...
He made the song he used for it was The Disposable Teens because of how disposable this game was.
I think it was Use Your Fist and Not Your Mouth.
No.
So...
I know you have a lot to say about this next game, though.
I got a lot of notes. Jesus. All right. Spider-Man the movie on PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. 2002 Treyarch Activision.
That's right. The same guy's working on Call of Duty.
Yep. It's a single-player action game, and the game follows the plot of the movie and expands with a bit of, a few extra characters appearing in there just to spice it up a little bit. Well, a lot of movie-based games do that, really. I mean... Just kind of follow the plot and just throw a couple extra villains in there because you don't want to have one bad guy at the end. But
yeah, a little more variety for the game, help it keep the replay value going.
Yeah, the gameplay is kind of similar to the PlayStation Spider-Man games, only more defined, like a little bit better controls, graphics, and stuff like that. And Bruce Campbell's there to make sure you're getting trained properly, and it's actually one of the better training sessions I played in a game. And you get Bruce Campbell narrating, telling you what to do. It's always funny, but. Levels are indoor and outdoor, but unfortunately Spidey has to wait to, visit the streets because you kind of die if you swing too low, which I always hated about these early Spider-Man games, like the PS1 and PS2 era. The graphics and sound are pretty solid with Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe reprising their roles, and some of the villains making an appearance in this game outside of Bonesaw. Come on, Dale.
Bonesaw McGraw.
Bonesaw is ready. Macho Man there.
Fortunately, Macho Man is not voicing the video game version of
That's been awesome. But Green Goblin's in there as well, obviously. But Shocker, Vulture, and Scorpion make an appearance. And I guess Kraven the Hunter is actually in the Xbox version as well. So, and Harry Osborn, you can unlock Harry Osborn in the original Green Goblin costume and replay against another Goblin, which is actually like a spin-off story. So, if you unlock Harry in a new costume, you can play the game through again, and actually has different stuff that happens. But reviews were pretty good for this game, and it actually set the bar in the Spider-Man series, but it was pretty much destroyed by the next game in the entry. And actually, you just played this recently, so I'll jump it over to you.
I played through the entire thing, the sequel, Spider-Man 2, on same systems, PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, right alongside the movie in 2004 from, again, Treyarch and Activision. And this one wasn't... They kind of took it up a notch here. It was the first Spider-Man game for many to come that took it to an open-world setting, an open-world New York.
And this actually was the first sandbox game that Marvel put out, if I remember right.
Okay, yep.
Like before Hulk and all that.
Because at this time, it was a couple years after GTA, a lot of games were like doing the copycat formula. But you know what? For Spider-Man, it worked, and it was fresh, and it was fun.
That was a huge thing for the website.
And, here it is, me just playing it 6 years later, and the game still, other than a few things, it's held up pretty damn good, I thought. The open world genre, is based primarily off the second movie, and mixes in additional characters from the comics, just like the first game. And, follows the plot with Dr. Octopus as their core villain, and also mixes in villains and other stars from the comics like Black Cat, Rhino, Electro, Beck, and Mysterio. And in the open world game, kind of comparable to how it is in Saints Row for a recent comparison, you do basic quick side missions in order to accumulate enough points to do a story-based mission. And some of the side missions you do were kind of quirky, like car beatdowns. Like besides chasing down, let's say criminals getting away in a car, you'd have to jump out of the car and beat the crap out of the car to get the criminals to come out. There are these other weird side missions where you got to stop a road rager, and it's like Spider-Man just get on the car and punch the shit out of the car, and the person was like, "Why did you do this?" And Spider-Man would be like, "I should show you how to calm down next time."
That's how I roll.
And I don't know about you, man. If I had a little road rage going on, I wouldn't want Spider-Man jumping and beating the shit out of my car. I'd be pissed off. It'd make me even more mad. Yeah.
Spider-Man just beat the shit out of my car. That was awesome.
Yeah. The graphics hold up, pretty well, all things considered. A 6-year-old last-gen game. Spider-Man still looked pretty damn good, I thought, and the gameplay is still is still pretty good too. The gameplay combat evolves where you unlock more moves as you proceed throughout the game. And my only gripe with it is kind of like the side missions got a little repetitive.
Find my balloon!
There's only several of them, and they repeat all the time.
You're swinging through the city and literally find my balloon! And you have to track a balloon and catch it and bring it back to a little girl. And then you swing a couple blocks down the road.
Yeah.
Find my balloon! I'm like, no!
No.
Hold on to your damn balloon!
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, I gotta remember this reference for a later game. But, the balloon person anyways. But, no, the only other real problem I had with the game was the camera. The swinging it took me a little while to get used to the swinging, but eventually I got used to it. But the camera, whenever you're climbing up the buildings, and whenever you got to the top of a building, there wasn't no natural adjustment from climbing up to the side to going to the top. There was just this sudden twitch, went from climbing to the side to the top, and that was a little hard on the eyes. I mean,
bad news.
Eventually I got used to it.
They never fix it.
No, and when I was playing Ultimate Spider-Man the other day,
it'll still happen. It happens in 3, it happens in Shattered Dimensions, it happens in Web of Shadows.
Oh, okay. Well, at least from the hour I played of Ultimate Spider-Man, it wasn't.
They might have fixed a couple.
It wasn't there.
I know that one actually had some better.
Unless it showed
stuff
up later on in the game, but
no, that's one thing they've struggled with. Even Shattered Dimensions, that was one of the few gripes I had with it. Is anytime you're wall crawling, the camera's tweaking out and going all over the place. Yeah, it's really frustrating too when you're trying to do something. So
yeah, okay. Yeah, but for Spider-Man 2, that it couldn't get some camera work really could have helped out. But other than that, I had a great time with it, and Yeah, like I said, surprisingly still holds up, and some of the boss fights were a bitch, but I managed to persevere and beat them. But
Yeah, one you'd like to talk about in particular, I remember you were telling me about on the phone. The Mysterio boss fight. You said it's your favorite boss fight you ever had in a game.
Yes. Yeah, Mysterio is like kind of... You have a couple early fights with him, like when he's sending you up on all ththese crazy obstacle courses and stuff, and then eventually you finally encounter him, and he's actually robbing a gas station, oddly enough. And Mysterio then is like, all right, let's finish this. And you see his health bar fill up 3 times over, and you're thinking, oh, great. This is you're going to be in for a long one here. And instead, I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to go all out. I run right up to him, deliver one punch, and he keels over. He's dead. Best boss fight in a game ever.
I want to throw a couple things in. And I want to say this, hands down, like the best part of this game, I feel this day, is Spider-Man 2 has the best swing available. And then the game introduced a more realistic mechanic, and like the earlier Spider-Man games, you just shoot your weapon up into nothing. And in this one, it has to attach to something, whether it be a tree, a building, a car, a lamppost, anything. And they perfected it. And I don't think they've gotten it better in any other game. And everything's just kind of living up to this standard of swinging. And pretty much any review you can read is in agreement with this. But I mean, it's one of those things like you just swing around for fun. Once you get the hang of it, you just swing around. It's just like GTA when you're cruising around, like you start messing around when you're in a car or jumping motorcycles and stuff like that. That's what the web swinging's like. It's just one of those things. It's so fluid and fun to do once you start doing it. And like I said, I think like you pointed out too, the graphics, everything about this. I think it got an IGN Editor's Choice Award, and it really, and I'm pretty passionate about it. It should be a staple if you're a comic fan. Like you should own this game, and I will very rarely say you should own a game. Like I don't like telling people what to buy, but I'm like, for how much it costs, really, to go back and play it.
Would this rank in your top 5 comic book games of all time?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it would for me, too.
And one of the characters you actually missed, Calypso, was unlockable.
Okay, I guess I didn't get that far.
There's
unlocked him.
Actually, it's a her. She's a voodoo priestess. She was in a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man run. And she had some tie-ins with Kraven the Hunter, but I guess there's like a warehouse you can unlock, and you can fight some of the other bosses later on in the game.
I forgot to mention also Bruce Campbell narrates in as your tour guide for this also. That was pretty cool. You can go around tokens across the city, and he'll talk to you and keep bringing up more tips and stuff for you too, or even just things to say. I got nothing to say. Have some hero points.
Yeah.
So yeah, this game has a lot of charm. Really, just flat out awesome.
All right, I'm going to jump into the third one here, and Dale knows how much I hate the movie, because I hate the game as much.
Yeah.
Now, I actually have this on the 360 now, so I'm going to cover it more on the 360, but I originally beat it on the PS2.
Yeah.
I actually rented it and played it the week it came out. Oh, my God. Spider-Man 3 is on the PS2 only for that gen. 2007, Vicarious Visions, who worked on the Ultimate Alliance, didn't they as well? Or is that just the engine?
They might have did like
I think
Vicarious Visions. At this point, they probably did the PS2 version. Not Treyarch did the. I believe they did the PS3 360 versions. At this point, Vicarious Visions is always like one of those companies Activision goes to usually to do like ports on like last gen systems or like handhelds. So that's probably what they were doing here on the PS2.
Oh, it looks like a backup team playing.
Yeah, the backup team.
But yet again, another single player action sandbox, and it looks like the. To put it bluntly, it looks like they tried to make a shitty version of Spider-Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything like plays like they wanted to be Spider-Man 2, but couldn't pull it off. It's loosely based on the movie, and like the story really makes no sense unless you've watched from the movie. Like I remember telling you this as a play. Like if you haven't seen the movie, it's not going to make any sense to you. Which the movie, it's not
Spider-Man 2 made great use of mixing in. It didn't even use movie cutscenes. It just used the in-game retellings of the clips of the movie. They did it in a good way where it made sense on its own if you haven't even watched the movie.
Oh my God, this just jumps around all. I think the movie jumps around and it's just like I fell in a sand pit. Oh, it's just a bird. Like, don't check. Like, you're doing a particle test. Like, you wouldn't check that out, but I'm not going to... Okay, I'm going on. But no, it's
How
just
about
like...
that Sandman?
Yeah, oh my God. there's a new sheriff in town. Oh, okay. But no, it's just the movie was jumpy, and the game's even worse than that, and it's just an incoherent mess. But going back to the gameplay, like I said, it's similar to Spider-Man 2, but it's just...
At least the PS2 version didn't get that much attention.
Oh, no, I played the 360 version recently, too, so I'll talk about that when we get to that. But thing to know, you can switch between the red and black symbiote suit, and like there's negative consequences when you're wearing the symbiote suit. Like people are kind of afraid of you on the streets and that kind of stuff. But some the villains that appear in the game is Morbius, Shriek, Lizard, and then obviously Venom, New Goblin, Sandman. Something else that was introduced into this were QuickTime events, because that was the like the rage at the time. God of War started that whole thing. Well, there's right off the bat.
Shenmue.
Fuck
you.
No,
People.
God of War started that, Dale.
I see people in this day and age. People like to omit Shenmue from the whole QuickTime event. Actually, if you really want to get to it, it's Dragon's Lair is a true QuickTime event pioneer. But it was Shenmue that kind of brought it back to the mainstream, but then after God of War, was the even bigger seller. Really brought more attention to it. But if it wasn't for Shenmue, you wouldn't be seeing QTEs in God of War.
Which one's still around?
Shenmue, in my heart.
Yeah, that's why they still make the games, right? 7 parts, huh?
Yep. No, it's 12 parts, more to come. Just you watch. No,
I was giving you shit, dude. I like Shenmue. Well, graphics and sound, like I said, and reviewers also found them inferior to its predecessor, and reviews were really mixed, and I felt this was like a step back for the franchise. And the game felt kind of rushed and just really bland, and it's just a mess. But I guess there was a special edition release with bonus interviews and a different cover, and I'm really just not a fan of this game. I'm not. And
if you want to go back for Matt's original full-length review, our original Cliff Notes version of the entire comics book genre, you did review Spider-Man 3 on PS2 because it just came out.
Did I?
Yep.
Wow, I don't even remember that.
Yep.
Did I hate it back then?
I think since it was just coming off the movie a few weeks, I think you said you sounded like if I remember it, you sounded like you're not like super high in the game, like it was a little bit of a disappointment, but you're like, yeah, it's still Spider-Man 3.
No. I still don't like it. I didn't like it back then either, but I probably just wasn't as bitter as I am now.
Yeah, you got bitter with age.
Like a fine wine, I guess.
It's like no, that's the opposite of a fine wine, man.
All right, mic check. 1, 2. All right, sweet. Yeah, we're set. Got my beer, got my Doritos. Check my perks here. Yeah. And game, set, match, motherfucker. Get ready. There's no stopping.
Hey, hon, can you help me carry in the groceries?
Son of a bitch. Every damn time.
GamersOnlyOlder.com, because carrying the groceries is not an achievement.
Release the inner child. Welcome to the Game is a VG Evo Network podcast affiliate.
I'm just going to put out there that Ultimate Spider-Man came out before Spider-Man 3 and after Spider-Man 2. Mm-hmm. And I just don't get...
Yeah, it came out the very next year after Spider-Man 2. Yeah.
I don't get how they go from one of the best ones to like a decent one to just a horrible one. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how they did it, because it's the same team. Mm-hmm. So, I'll let you take over on this, though. So. Well,
maybe one thing is that they only had a year development cycle, because they pumped it out right the very next year, and they were going to an all-new graphic style engine. They went from like the kind of realistic graphic look they had in the Spider-Man movie games to a brand new cel-shaded look, like a really new dynamic cel shading. I think they gave it its own special branding. It was like ink shading something.
I remember that. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Like they dubbed it its own special animation engine, and I thought it looked great. I thought it was like probably one of the, for being 5 years old, I thought it still looks great today. And
cel shading, man.
Yeah, cel shading games, they don't age. I mean, well, they do age, but they don't age as bad. But yeah, the cel shading for Ultimate Spider-Man, dude, that game, it looked fantastic. Still does look fantastic. I was surprised at how good it still looks by just.
Dude, wait till you see Shattered Dimensions. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean the game's and. It has a new way of telling the story, too, with the whole comic-style cel-shading inking. They also decided when the in-game cutscenes played out, you got they played out like a normal cutscene, but they kind of divided it up to look like it was playing out like in comic panels as it moved along, kind of like Comic Zone a little bit on the Genesis, if you guys remember that one. It just had a great look, great vibe, and the core story for this game was in this one you got to play in the Ultimate Universe where Spider-Man and Venom are still, or who then Peter Parker and Brock, they were high schoolers in like a modern day time. That's the whole Ultimate Universe, and Peter Parker was just still getting familiar with all the Spider-Man powers, and he was just newly Spider-Man, and you saw how Brock became Venom because Peter Parker tried out the Venom suit, and he didn't like that it was too powerful, and he didn't feel himself, so he stored it away. But Brock found out about it, he didn't like it, and it turned him into the sinister Venom. So, but you end up getting to control both characters.
You actually, not to cut you off there, but you actually find out a lot more about it is different than the regular universe in that. It's actually their parents were working on it.
Yeah, they did say that. Yeah,
it's really like the main core of the story is, I guess to say, like it's the rivalry of Spider-Man and Venom is the backdrop, I'd say, of the story, whereas it goes back to their parents more, and like the creation of Venom and what is it? Mary, I can't remember his parents' names. No, I'm losing nerd cred. No, but no, it goes back to his Peter Parker's parents.
Aunt May.
No, it's something in Mary Parker. I can't remember. But, whatever. But anyways, it works on their parents, and like Eddie Brock is jealous about the whole thing, and that ties into Venom. But I'll let you jump back into that. But there's a lot of depth in the parents thing, and I don't think they had covered this in the comic yet.
Oh, okay.
And it ended up becoming like the War of the Symbiotes storyline. Only it was they kind of tweaked it a little bit more when it came to the comics. Because I don't know if you mentioned Brian Michael Bendis and Brian Reed that did like the really long streak. Actually, Brian Michael Bendis did like I don't remember.
Yeah, they broke the streak for longest set of writer and.
Well, Brian Reed wasn't the artist. But he was one of the writers of the game.
Yeah, in Ultimate Spider-Man, they broke the record for longest running writer-artist duo. They beat Stan Lee's and Jack Kirby's old record.
There's Steve Ditko.
Or who was it? What, for Fantastic Four, was it?
Yeah,
right?
it was Fantastic Four, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but, playing as Venom was pretty cool. Gave a new sense of power and destruction that you didn't really get with Spider-Man. And I brought up that I wanted to mention the balloon gal again, and for Venom, like the thing with Venom for being the Venom suit, you had to constantly feed it power, and to do that, you kind of walked up to a person and held triangle, and Venom engulfed this person and sucked him out, and they didn't kill him because it's a comic book, it's a teen rating, but they were left powerless and just kind of lying prone, drained out of energy. And the first person you get to suck power out of it was the person going, "I need my balloon." I'm like, yes, revenge from Spider-Man 2. Here we go. About damn time, and I'm like, I can't wait to harvest the heck out of you. And Venom was really cool, and I kind of like I alluded to before. At least from the hour I played, I didn't run into the camera twitch problems from climbing up to the side and going to the top. But there were some other camera issues I did have where they kind of altered the web slinging a little bit. Like Matt said, Spider-Man 2 had great web slinging, and here it's still pretty good, but they kind of changed some of the controls for the web slinging, which kind of caused me to mistime some web slings and made it a little hard to master, like how to speed up and get the most out of my swings, and they changed the way you maneuver the camera too a little bit. It's way more sensitive compared to Spider-Man 2, and only about an hour in, so maybe I could have got used to it some more playtime. It kind of took me a little while to get used to the swinging in Spider-Man 2, but right now it was just a big turnoff and didn't really want me to come back to it. But I kind of do because I thought the story was super, super cool.
You caught my note too. They actually changed the web mechanic intentionally.
Yeah, I saw that later on here. Yeah, which I don't like.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. There's in their excuse for this. And I don't know if this was a cop-out, after the fact. They're just like, oh, well, we changed it because of this. But they said it's because it was a younger and more inexperienced Peter Parker as Spider-Man. Not your tried-and-true superhero Spider-Man that he'd become in Spider-Man 2. And I'm like, if they really did intend on that being the reason for it, then I'll give them credit for that. for the ingenuity, like saying, okay, he's not as experienced, he's going to be a little, bad at web slinging, which is inconvenient to the player, but it makes sense for the game. But something just tells me that.
Okay, but they could have done it in a different way. Like, they could have gave him less of an arc on his jump, or, like, his web slinging couldn't have shoot out as far, instead of just having the camera be all kinds of fucked up.
Yeah. And I was just like, that's why I kind of think it's more of a cop-out than anything. Like, we kind of screwed this up. But why would you change it, though?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to do different things, and, maybe changing it to the new graphic engine had something to do with it. I don't know. But, they're, as far as, like, roster go, a lot of Spider-Man villains are in here. Besides, you play as Venom. He's also a villain in here. You fight him right at the beginning and four times throughout the game. The Shocker, Rhino, Electro, Beetles, Silver Sable. You get a race against the Human Torch. Man, did I suck in those with that camera.
There's a lot more of them. Yeah.
After seeing how he had icons on the map as he did. It took me a few tries to beat him just once, and just seeing how many other races you had to do was just like urge to play diminishing. As Venom, you'll face Wolverine, Silver Sable, Electro, Beetle, and Carnage.
And that's actually Wolverine's the first one you fight. Like,
yep.
I thought that was really cool. Actually,
Yeah.
It's like you start out, you're like, hey, cool, I get to play. Holy shit, I get to fight Wolverine,
Yeah.
like, that's awesome. Like, I don't think there's any other game where you have to fight Wolverine, like. Yeah, it's really cool, though. I mean, honestly, I mean, how many times you get to have a boss fight against Wolverine, especially in the opening game, so. It's really neat, though, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and it used the same open-world gameplay as Spider-Man 2, and I see you got in your notes here, there's a limited edition released with an exclusive cover and bonus DVD with bios, comics, interviews, tips, and documentaries.
I actually have that, too. I was going to say, I'll show it to you one of these days. It actually comes with, like, a bonus DVD case with, like, a lenticular cover that switches between Venom and Spider-Man. It's actually pretty cool, so. But, yeah.
And we do have 2 more Spider-Man games, Friend or Foe and Web of Shadows. Both were only on PS2, but both also came out on current-gen systems, so we're just going to save that for the next show.
I couldn't imagine playing either of those. Like, Friend or Foe might be alright, but I imagine it being more of a superhero squad type thing, so. Alright, I'm glad you're making me cover this, because I was a little mad, actually. Spy vs. Spy on PS2 and Xbox, 2005 Vicious Cycle Software Global Star. I don't know any of those. But multiplayer platformer, it's a single-player mode, kind of plays like an episode of the 60s cartoon, and the player performs missions or completes puzzles. There's also modern classic mode, which 2 players collect 5 artifacts in each stage before the other one, so it's kind of like race to the artifact before the other. There's also a multiplayer mode with deathmatch or capture the flag. Pretty basic stuff. You can play as the black, white, red, or blue spies, and I found out this game was released only in Europe, but I'd already finished the research for it, so you guys can suck it. I was like, what?
Yep.
No, we try not to cover games that came out in Europe or that didn't come out in the States.
Yeah, I remember seeing, like, previews for it and everything. And it was actually came out from a pretty, popular developer, Way Forward, which still makes a lot of, handheld games. Like, they made the kind of like cult classic Shantae on Game Boy Color, and make a lot of handheld games. They always get a lot of pretty good praise, so it's kind of hard to imagine why this one didn't make its way towards stateside.
Well, I guess it got really bad reviews too, though, so that's probably one of the reasons. But I could have swore I've seen this used.
Yeah, see, I want to say too. I remember running across it in bargain bins also.
But yeah, from what I know, it was only released in Europe. But I guess it wasn't that good either. I remember there's an old NES Spy vs. Spy. But,
yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of like foreign games we didn't cover, like Asterix and Obelisk was a big European game, and then we had a great debate whether we wanted to cover comic strip games like Popeye or Garfield and that, because there's been like a ton of Garfield and Smurfs and stuff like that, comic strips and games. So, but all right, so we're back to you.
Yep. All right. Next up here, Superman. Yes. We all know how great Superman 64 was, and, well, things didn't get as atrocious as they were last gen, but they weren't that great either. There were a couple Superman games this generation. There's 3 of them, actually. Superman Man of Steel is the first one, and that was an Xbox exclusive from Circus Freak Studios and published by Atari. It was a single-player action-adventure game, and outline of the game is based off the comic storyline Superman Y2K, and was written by the DC scribe Scott Peterson. In the game, Brainiac infects Metropolis with a tech virus only to be foiled by Supes. The city thrives with new technology created by the infection. Brainiac returns to harvest it, but must be stopped.
I have to explain that a little bit, too, because it's confusing to read it. Apparently, like, okay, I'm admittedly not much of a DC fan. I like characters, but I don't read the comics often. But apparently there's, like, Brainiac 13 infects Metropolis with a technological virus, and Brainiac 17 comes back to harvest it, because, like, Superman stops the virus, but it leaves Metropolis in this, like, futuristic state and has flying cars and all this crap. And then Brainiac returns and like tries to take the technology, and there's like chaos and stuff like that happening. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to write all that down because that's confusing. It's confusing trying to explain it. But another thing to note, and this is off topic, but Scott Peterson, wasn't that also a guy recently in the news, like within the last couple of years? Like Lacey Peterson, like wasn't there a murder trial? Like as I was reading this, I'm like, that's probably not the same guy. But I'm like, as soon as I read Scott, I'm like, wait a minute, Scott Hitler. Come on now. Running joke between me and Dale. All right, back to you.
But yeah.
Where do you go after that?
The controls consist of repetitive task-based missions, and to top it off, most missions are timed, which is never a good thing. And even at top speed, Superman is super slow. Controls are weak with a poor targeting system and bad flight mechanics. Just what you needed for helping you in those time-based missions. Sound and voice acting are too bad, but Superman's voice comes off as a generic superhero. Players will travel from Metropolis to the Moon and even the Phantom Zone. Some of the villains making an appearance are Brainiac, Lex Luthor, Bizarro, and Mongol. Overall, the game got a mixed, not-so-good reviews because of the stupid time-based missions.
We should probably talk about that. Like, I could probably do a whole show against time-based missions.
We already made several references to it already.
Just time-based missions and escort missions.
Two things to keep out of a game, all developers
Well,
listening.
if you're going to do a time mission, use it sparingly.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember, wasn't there an X-Men Legends game that used a time mission? Yeah, I think the second one used one. But I think I understand the purpose of it, like, but you miss out on so much core gameplay, like collecting stuff. Like, don't make me collect stuff if you're going to have me in a timed area. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I have this game. It looks pretty interesting, but I'm just like, his flight is so slow, and like, there's nothing like. It's like playing a racing game where your top speed's like 50 miles an hour lower than everybody else's. Like, you can never get there before them. So,
yeah, I never played it. Never got a chance to play that one. Did you get a chance to play this next Superman game?
Actually, I did a little bit. Superman Shadow of Apocalypse, and this one's actually based off the animated series that came after the Batman one. But it's produced on the PS2 and GameCube in 2002 from Infogames Atari. And Atari, oh man, Atari's making some stinkers there for a while, but it's a single-player action-adventure. Like I said, it's based off the animated series and also used cel-shaded graphics. And then, like I said, the sound, everything came from the show. And it also retained most of the voice cast as well. So Superman has access to some of his powers right off the bat, but unresponsive controls hold him back from being a true Man of Steel. And many of the show's villains show up, including Livewire, Metallo, Brainiac, Lex Luthor, Parasite, and Darkseid. Although short, the game garnered decent reviews and is so far considered the best in the Superman series.
Damn.
Which, I mean, really, like, to be the best in the Superman series...
Mm-hmm.
Hey, just simply being playable at that point.
Yes.
Is,
it shouldn't be considered the best. It should be considered the most playable.
Oh, no, it's the best in the Superman franchise.
Well, I will have to disagree a little bit with this next one, Matt.
But I said so far.
Oh, so far.
When it was this gen, yeah.
I guess there was one more game this gen. Superman Returns for PS2 and Xbox. It also came out on 360. I beat it on the 360, but from what I understand, which I'll be talking more about in the next episode, but from what I remember reading reviews at the time, like the one that released on PS2 and Xbox launched alongside the movie, and if I remember correctly, Returns on the 360, they made sure they actually gave it a delay and postponed it until the DVD for it to coincide with the DVD release several months later, so they could kind of polish it up a little bit since it was then on brand new tech on the 360. And I remember reading reviews at the time saying like the PS2 and Xbox versions were pretty busted and broken, and if they're anything like the 360 version, if I remember right, the 360 version is an open world game, and
Yep.
I guess they just couldn't. It was just too much for the PS2 and Xbox versions to handle, or just.
It was just that. It just didn't seem like they. I don't know.
I think you said you got a chance to play the.
Yeah, I played it quite a bit actually.
Yeah.
There's a story behind it, but I want to make an apology to someone as well in the story. But no, I did play it. I didn't really care for it too much. Like I just liked the graphics were really bland. Like, and this was like fresh when it came out. Like I didn't have a 360 or PS3 for like well after launch, but I mean I played my PS2 to hell, and I mean this game I was just like, this is kind of an ugly looking game. Like just didn't play well. But so yeah, my wife's mom stood in line at Best Buy on Black Friday for like 2 hours to get me my copy of Superman Returns on the PS2 because it was on like sale super cheap and it was like right around the launch and I think it was only like $15 for like it was like $40 or $50 at the time. And she waited in line for like 2.5 hours and she's like, "Hey, I got your game. Here you go." And I threw it in. I'm like, "Oh god, it's crap. Like it sucks." And I was like, I didn't want to say anything. She's like, "Hey, how'd you like your game?" I'm like, "It's really good." I'm like, I totally play it all the time.
Superman is super cool.
But I just felt so horrible. Like, I didn't really want her to wait in line, but when she said she would, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty cool." And she's like, "Oh, I waited for 2.5 hours." I was like, "Oh no!" And then I played the game, and I was like, "Oh no, I really feel bad. This is terrible." So it's just one of those things. Like, she'll never hear this, but at the same point, I feel so bad for it. So my wife might hear this, and she'll tell her, and then she'll ridicule me. "You didn't like the game I bought you. I remember I waited this long. I'll never wait 2.5 hours in line for you again."
Okay, moving on. Next up, we have Teen Titans. Yep. This was based off a DC comic from Artificial Mind and Movement and published by THQ for the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube in 2006. Single-player action game with a multiplayer battle mode, and it's based off a cartoon series where the Titans receive a video game based on them in the mail. When played, they get trapped inside and must battle their way out.
Ooh.
Playable characters are Robin, Cyborg, Raven, Starfire, and Beast Boy, each having their own unique ranged attack. It's more of a simpler game with pretty basic responsive controls. Graphics aren't that great, but the voice acting and overall sound quality makes up for it. Some of the villains you encounter are Jinx, Mammoth, Plasmus, Deathstroke,
Like Turnian.
Turnian, Gizmo, Mumbo, Cinderblock, and Overload. And this kind of got okay reception at the time, so...
Yep. Not really a lot to say about this, I guess. The fans of the cartoon, it's kind of like a high action, fast-paced, frenetic kind of cartoon show, so... No, it's really not. It's just kind of your standard, action game for the time. Mm-hmm. So, and I guess the cool thing is you can switch between any of the characters in the game, so... From what I know, mind you, I haven't played it, but...
But you did play this next one.
Yes, I did, actually. Actually, I didn't play this one, I played the second one. But they all play it the same, so...
Okay.
Alright. This is the first in the new franchise of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. On all three in 2003 by Konami. This is a 2-player beat-em-up, which, why no 4-player love? I mean, honestly, at this day and age, we're well past the NES era. You should really be able to play 4 players, especially with the multi-tap or the Xbox or GameCube, which were built for 4 players.
Well, apparently they learned their lesson in the sequels.
Oh, yeah. This game is the first of 3, and it kind of loosely follows some early Season 1 episodes, which they kind of follow that same format.
From, the late 80s, early 90s series?
From the
The
relaunch.
relaunch of the animated series?
I'm not a big fan of, but... The story's kind of, the usual. You play as one of the 4 turtles and defeat Shredder after fighting waves of baddies. So, typical fare. In multiplayer mode, 2 players can fight each other with the 4 turtles, Casey Jones, Hun, Shredder, the Turtle Bot, Hamato Yoshi, or Oroku Saki, who's unlockable at the end. The cel-shaded graphics are crisp, and the sound effects are pretty good over. The turtles, however, they tend to get annoying. There's a lot of one-liners that get really repetitive, which... the older ones really isn't a lot of dialogue to get that, but "oh, my toes," Imagine having to hear that an entire game over and over again.
That's in this?
Not that, but what I'm talking about, the old NES games, the witty one-liners they throw out, but this is like that, only it's the same ones over and over again, but...
Is Shell Shock in there at least?
Yeah. They're edgier, they say, get the shell out, that kind of stuff, but yeah, ooh, yeah.
The attitude defied it.
Yeah. The controls are pretty simple, actually. It's like 3 attack simple type thing. Pretty much just mashing the X button can get you through this. Like, this is one of those games, like, you just walk sideways and just keep hitting X. Just like the old school ones in a way, but, you know, unless you're playing the old ones, it really doesn't hold up. But overall, the game isn't bad, but it just lacks the feeling and nostalgia I get from playing the old school Turtle games. And it kind of got mixed reviews, too. So, I mean, there's people that dug it. Depends on if you're fans of the genre. I'm like, I know little kids are going to eat this crap up, but...
I think with these series of games, I think I first remember seeing this, and I went and attended E3 2003, and I was walking by Konami's booth, and I was, is that Turtles? Cell-shaded Turtles? Wow. And just by watching someone play it in footage there, I was kind of watching them play, I'm like, it looks like they're trying to capture the awesome 8 and 16-bit game feel for it with the arcade beat-em-up feel. And I'm like, wow, this looks like it's going to be really cool. How can Konami fuck this up? I don't know. I mean, they essentially went for that arcade beat-em-up feel, right? And just like, I thought the cell shading looked cool.
Yeah, do you want me to just stick with the trilogy, I guess? Because these are actually kind of...
Yeah, they all go hand in hand, yeah.
I guess I'll just jump into the next one, which came out exactly a year later. Same developer on all 3 systems. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Battle Nexus. This one's actually a 4-player beat-em-up, so they did finally wise up a little bit. And basically, it just follows the second season, and it's the exact same type of graphics, sound, control from the first game. There's minor tweaks to it. I mean, they tried to improve a little bit, but nothing really different. And there's a lot less one-liners, which, that's a good thing. But I mean, literally, it's just like, okay, Turtles game, same engine, update the story, we're good to go. Something that I loved about it, at the time, mind you, this was before it was like DLC, and I didn't have an NES at the time and stuff like that, but the only reason I rented this game is because you can unlock TMNT 2, the arcade game, as a playable bonus. And unfortunately, it's kind of like a bastard version, like...
They didn't have the actual soundtrack.
Well, they only had 2 songs for the game. There's a boss song and a level song. I think you could only play as 2 of the Turtles as well. But, hey, when you haven't played that game in like 10 years, totally worth it.
Before
they rented it, so...
before the time they re-released it on XBLA. And
yeah. Like, this is before all that, so... And like I said, I didn't have an NES at the time, but now that I do, I'll go back and play whenever, but... Jump straight ahead into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 Mutant Nightmare, and this came out the year after that, so I mean, they literally released one of these every year, but same thing, 4-player beat-em-up. Story follows Season 3 of the show. It plays exactly like the 2 before it, except for 2 new features. Ultimate Turtle Mode, which there's scrolls hidden throughout the game, which you can use to upgrade your character. There's also another upgrade system, which you collect crystals as well to upgrade your character, so...
RPG elements.
Yeah. The Ultimate Turtle Mode is just basically like a more extreme version of the turtle that you are, so... just like in the game before it, you can actually unlock TMNT Turtles in Time, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like the best... Was that kind of a bastard version too, though?
I think it was. I think it was the arcade version, and not the old...
so there's no Technodrome level?
I think the boss fights are different, yeah, so...
No first-person level? Man, just like the 360 remake. Not cool.
Outside of the next game, which actually came out the same year, I think actually came out before this, which I'll let you cover, but this is actually the last TMNT game Konami would do, is Ubisoft acquired the license. And
yeah, Konami actually had it for a long time. They even had the rights to it for several years there when they weren't doing any Turtles games, because like we mentioned in our last episode, the PS1 64 era was like the only era where there wasn't a Turtles game released. Yeah. And I guess Konami had the rights for all those time because no one else.
Well, they weren't doing anything.
Yeah,
with
they just
Turtles
didn't do anything. So. Yeah, there was that gap.
Well, they did have the live-action Turtle series, but
yeah, I guess it was kind of odd to see like there was a gap, and then Konami still had the rights to it, and they did games for it for a few more years, and then all of a sudden,
it's really sad.
Yeah, they went with someone else. Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'll always remember the Konami ones. Like the Ubisoft one, TMNT, the movie one isn't bad, but.
Yeah, I mean, like, I always wanted to give these ones a try. I don't know why I never did. I guess I just never got around to it.
We have opportunities now, so...
Freaking...
Maybe in our completed list at the end of the year, we'll throw a couple of these.
Hey, there you go.
So...
Yeah, right. I mean, it looked like I was trying to recapture the spirit of the ones I grew up with, and...
Well, I got all 3 of them, so
yeah.
Maybe give them a run through.
Cool. Alright, so for this next one that Matt said, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Melee from, again, Konami in 2005 on PS2, Xbox, GameCube. This was their version of making a Turtles game and make it into like a Smash Brothers style fighter, and it was a multiplayer fighting game up to 4 players, and adventure consists of 100 loosely tied minigames.
There's a story mode, yeah.
Adventure mode, yes. And the 4 main modes of play also were Last Man Standing, Knockout Mode, whoever gets the most knockout wins, and King the Hill, where there's the most points in the match, and Keep Away. Playable fighters included, the 4 core turtles: Leo, Michael, Donatello, Ralph, Splinter, Casey Jones, April O'Neil, Shredder, Hunfoot Soldiers, Purple Dragon, a Monsters League, and Traximus.
I looked at the fighter listing and it just said just a monster, and I'm like, really? A monster?
Generic monster. And I got from notes it plays like a busted ass Super Smash Brothers. Yep. I guess I never got around to trying it.
Yep.
Well, at
Neither
least
have I can't find it.
Sounds like the unofficial follow-up Smash Up is leagues better than. But
all 15 minutes of it.
Yes, we'll get to that next episode. But yeah, I guess just kind of just allude to that. We got 2 more games that we're going to cover in the next episode. TMNT, the one based off the movie. There's versions on PlayStation 2 and GameCube, but we both played it on 360, so we'll be talking about it on next installment of the special. And TMNT Smash Up, which came out for PS2 and the Wii just last year, actually.
Well, something to mention too, and like the reason why we're covering them on the next gen show is because they're more
recent,
and then they were kind of more built for this generation. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of feels like they're just like kind of like a bastard version that was thrown on the PS2.
Yeah, we're going to put our B development team on porting it to this market because this market still has an audience that sells, but all our focus is going to go on the current gen versions.
Well, because I know a lot of like coworkers that have little kids that they're like, well, I just gave my kid my PS2 because I don't play it anymore. And then they eat up this stuff like, oh, a Turtles game, they're still making them for the PS2, and it's like they buy whatever for the kids. Like I still see like SpongeBob games and stuff coming out for the PS2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
we'll cover those 2 games on the next episode here. So I'll throw it to you, Matt.
All right, the lone Turok of this gen.
Yes.
Turok Evolution. 2002 Acclaim. It was on all 3 systems.
The last Turok game by Acclaim. After all things told, a pretty solid run on the 64 there.
Oh, this one,
This one, not so much.
All right, it's a single player with multiplayer deathmatch, and it's a prequel to the N64 games. You play as Tall Set and are caught in the Battle of the Lost Land. I read the story it was about, and this is the best explanation for it. Literally. I went through and I read the story, and I'm just like, I'm not going to read this because this doesn't even make sense to me while I'm reading it. And I'm like, I'm not going to try to explain that. But to put it simply, there's 15 levels with dinosaurs and guns. And dinosaurs with guns.
Of course.
That's why won't you have, raptors with laser arms.
There better be laser rifles.
But the graphics and controls are decent, and I actually remember renting this game, but the game is really just a mediocre shooter. Like, the only thing interesting about it is it almost instantly went from $50 to $10, or as I like to call it, an impromptu budget title. Really mixed reviews, and the PS2 got the worst of it. And I remember, like I said, I rented this game, and I was like, I was actually over at a friend's house, and I was like, hey, you want to see what the PS2 like? You want to look at some games? And I was like, all right, Turok. Turok's are always good. I put it on my, this is crap. Like, seriously? Like,
what happened to Claim? Yeah,
what happened to Claim? Like, Claim had some rough years there.
I played it all at a friend's also. I remember we did deathmatch, and within probably 10-15 minutes, it was just like, this isn't any fun. This kind of sucks. I think you're doing multiplayer deathmatch, and if I remember right, I believe they dinosaurs kind of invade, and that you kind of got to fend them off every once in a while trying to avoid crossfire from your opponents. So, but yeah, just didn't cut it.
I just remember that. I remember going in the stores, and it was like a couple weeks. It was like $50 new release, and then all of a sudden, like, everybody marked it down because it did not sell. Like, I don't know what the figures were in it, but I just remembered it did not sell well. And, it just bombed really bad. But this next game, actually, I played a demo for it on one of the PlayStation Jam Packs. And I actually really wanted to play it, and I've still not gotten around to it. But I know a lot about it, but I'm going to let you cover this one, buddy.
I actually played I think I played the Game Boy Advance version of it at a friend's. I think I played a demo of it, too, now that you mention it, because it does. I remember the footage for it, too. We're talking about the only cell-shaded first-person shooter, 13 for PS2, Xbox, and GameCube in 2003 from Ubisoft, and it's a 16-player has 16-player multiplayer modes. And it's based off the 1984 Belgian comic, and where the protagonist awakens in Brooklyn with amnesia and finds that he is being haunted by a hitman and is wanted for the assassination of the president. After finding the Roman numeral 13 tattooed on his shoulder, he searches for his identity and to uncover the truth behind the group known as 20.
Nope, double X.
Double X.
Oh, no, it is 13. Or 20, yeah, you're right. I'm an idiot. Keep going.
I was going to say, I hope that's Roman numerals for 20.
I think it's 20, yeah.
The game uses cel-shaded graphics, as previously mentioned, and for being the first FPS do that, it really made it stand out. And it also used like Comic Sans Serif font for the story panels, really give it that comic book style look and feel, and it really made the game stand out. And controls are very basic, which is kind of considered a downfall to the game. Not much for variety, unbalanced gun damage led to a frustrating experience from what we researched on it. The voice casting is solid, with David Duchovny voicing the titular character. Sometimes, something else worth mentioning, the game uses onomatopoeia whenever an explosion or gunfire occurs. For example, when you shoot someone, a blam or boom would appear in a bubble, just like a comic book. Yep. Adam West also does vocal work for the game. And there's pop-up picture-in-picture headshots.
Which was awesome. And really graphic. Like, something I mentioned, like, they actually threw those in there to make it more mature. Like, they didn't want people thinking it was too kiddie. Like, whenever you shot somebody in the head, it would do, like, the angle you would see. And then it'd go to, like, behind their head and, like the bullet come out in blood spray. And then they do it from another angle, from, like, the side angle. So you get it from, like, 2 or 3 different angles, which is kind of cool. But
Okay, reviews were pretty positive, but the game sales didn't do so well. So there's no sequel, and a cliffhanger ending was left unresolved.
I guess the game was based off the first 5 issues of the comic, and they literally set this up to be, like, I think either like 2 games or a trilogy. And it got really, really good reviews, but, like, I don't know if just people weren't interested in it because they're like, oh, that looks really cartoony, or for whatever reasons it didn't sell well, so...
Yeah, it's weird, yeah.
It's kind of unfortunate, but, like,
cel-shaded games were kind of, like, riding a pretty unique high there for a couple years there. You think that one would have caught on.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but I remember playing the demo. I was really psyched about it, but I never picked it up.
Well, do you know what happened with this next game?
What do you mean?
I know you love the... you didn't love, but I remember you liked the X-Men fighters from...
You made an enemy deal.
From Activision.
Never threw it in.
Oh, yeah?
I threw it. But actually, yeah, I found out it's actually the 3rd game in the Mutant Academy series, because it's the same company. But X-Men Next Dimension, it was on all 3 systems in 2002 by Paradox and published by Activision. Multiplayer fighting, and like I said, it's the 3rd game, following Mutant Academy 1 and 2. And you fight to stop the worldwide extermination of mutants from those damn bastard Sentinels, because they're back again, but... the graphics are decent, and the art style of then artist Frank Wiley is used for the character design. And I don't know if you knew Frank Wiley at the time was doing new X-Men, and he changed to all wacky art designs. And the sound is decent, and Patrick Stewart narrates the story and also bios for the character. And Patrick Stewart, man, I'll talk about that at the end of the show, but there's a streak here. The game plays like a mix of Street Fighter, Dead or Alive, and Darkstalkers, only not as good. It's decent, it's just not as good, and it tries to sort of be like a Marvel vs. Capcom clone.
And try to be like as technically sound of a fighter like the previous ones.
No, it just kind of
goes
steals
for the more wacky feel.
Yeah, it kind of borrows a little bit from everybody, but just doesn't work out as well. Each character has 4 outfits. You start off with 2, and 2 are unlockable. And the roster includes Bastion, Beast, Betsy Braddock, which is actually a variant of Psylocke. Oh, this one isn't as long. But Bishop, Blob, Cyclops, Dark Phoenix, Forge, Gambit, Havoc, Juggernaut, Lady Deathstrike, Magneto, Mystique, Nightcrawler, Phoenix, Psylocke, Pyro on the Xbox only, Rogue, Sabretooth, Sentinels A and B, Storm, Toad, and Wolverine. The game got decent reviews, and I actually think it looks kind of fun, but a lot of people complain about the art style, but like I said, that's Frank Wiley, so that's all I got. It's on to you for the next one.
Alright, this next one, X2 Wolverine's Revenge for PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. and this came out in 2003 right alongside the movie launch of X-Men 2, and I remember this one even getting a Game Informer cover story. It was a double cover story with it and X-Men Legends, saying how they're both going to be like, the next great X-Men games. X-Men Legends, which we'll talk about in a little bit, definitely lived up to some of that stature or that hype. X2 Wolverine's Revenge did not. Of course, with it being a rushed movie licensed game, it didn't help. Single-player action games Wolverine, and it coincided with the theatrical release, but was more based off the Wolverine comics with veteran writer Larry Hama writing, where the story of the game where Wolverine must find a cure to the Shiva strain virus and will travel back to the Weapon X facility and where he originally received his adamantium skeleton. Sabretooth, Magneto, Lady Deathstrike, Wendigo, Juggernaut, and a few others appear in the game. The game plays standard beat 'em up with a little stealth thrown in. Graphics are kind of hit and miss with a bit of a cartoony style. Mark Hamill voices Wolverine, and Patrick Stewart reprises his role of Xavier. The game features some unlockable outfits for a little replay value, but didn't really get that great reviews, with save points being a key issue. I got on your notes here, Matt, that you didn't hate this game. You just got old after a while.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, Activision, they were trying something with this. It didn't work. And I played this game, and I'm like, I don't know. I rented it when it came out, and I was like, oh, cool, Wolverine game. And it's kind of got this weird...
Not learning your lesson after the NES or SNES games?
No, I hadn't played an X-Men game for a while at this time, and I hadn't played X-Men Legends yet, but I just rented it. I'm like, this is all right. And then I'm like, okay, it's just kind of a beat-em-up game. But the save points are either far between each other, or away from each other, there's a long gap in between save points, or they're right next to each other.
Okay.
So it's you can say go 2 minutes and then have to save, and then go a half hour and save, and it's really inconsistent. And it if you die, you have to go back a half hour's worth of time, and that's really annoying. And part of that, I think we're so accustomed to checkpoints
being
now.
Spoiled lately.
Oh yeah. I mean every 30 seconds there's a checkpoint.
Generating health.
Yeah. But at the same point, this was becoming standard to have checkpoints and stuff like that, so save points could have been a little more common in the game, but that's nice to see a couple of the unlockable outfits, you get Patch and the Tiger Stripe outfit, the brown outfit, kind of stuff like that, a little bit of variation, but I did like seeing Mark Hamill as Wolverine. Patrick Stewart whoring himself out against Xavier.
Now this next one, Matt, is another one we both like, one of the precursors to Ultimate Alliance.
Yep. You want to take this one, or you want me to take it?
Go for it.
Okay. This is X-Men Legends on all three systems, 2004 Ravensoft Activision. It's a 1 to 4 player action RPG, and the plot follows a newly discovered mutant, Alison Cressmere, being abducted by genetic research soldiers. Eventually, she is being rescued by the X-Men, and she joins the team as Magma. And you go on several missions, such as rescuing Gambit, helping Colossus, and defeating the Shadow King. Later on, you battle Sentinels, and eventually face off against Magneto. Players pick a team of 4 and battle in a style similar to Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. Each character has 4 distinct powers and could upgrade attributes as well. Players can switch in characters on the fly, and co-op is drop in, drop out. Ravensoft used cell shading to aim for more of a comic style look for the characters, and I felt it made them stand out more in comparison with the background. Voice work was top-notch with Patrick Stewart, Ed Asner, Lou Diamond Phillips, and Danica McKellar, and many other veteran voice actors. And I don't know if you know who Danica McKellar is, but she was Winnie on The Wonder Years. There we go. So, for the fanboys out there from the Wonder Years. You ready, Dale? Here we go again. Playable characters include Beast, Colossus, Cyclops, Emma Frost, Gambit, Iceman, Jean Grey, Jubilee, Magma, Nightcrawler, Professor X, Psylocke, Rogue, Storm, and Wolverine. Villains include Acolytes, Avalanche, Blob, Havoc, Juggernaut, Magneto, Meryl, Master Mold, Morlocks, Mystique, Pyro, Sabretooth, the Sentinels, and Shadow King. Toad is in there as well. I left him out there, but NPCs include Bishop, Ilyana Rasputin, Multiple Man, Forge, and Moira McTaggart. There's a ton of unlockables in this game. Outfits, load screens, bios, danger room discs, comic covers, and my favorite, comic trivia. And these things will become staples of later games in this series, and this game is really well received. But, dude, that comic trivia is awesome.
Yeah, we're just going up to the comic trivia machine and being,
I'd laugh.
all right, let's test my knowledge. A lot of them there were a lot of softballs, but you know.
What issue did Juggernaut appear in? Uncanny X-Men 12. Booyah.
Really?
I'm like, ha ha ha, take that trivia. That's sad. I was really.
I remember a lot of them. They always gave you a lot of hints too by just if you talk to all the characters too.
That one wasn't a hint though. That's like one of those things you didn't know.
No, it's in there. I remember by talking to Forge. He's like, "Yep, just so you know, Juggernaut appears in issue 12 on Uncanny X-Men." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, Forge, for that totally piece of useless information." No, wait, it came in handy later.
That's completely irrelevant to the storyline.
Yes.
In comic books, what are you talking about?
No, I'm with you. I like X-Men Legends was awesome and definitely like the best X-Men game at that time. You know, just totally raised the bar and it was a blast to play. I remember having a few all-night sessions with buddies and didn't quite beat it. I remember we got up to the part where we got to like the Navy vessel and it was like sinking. We had to rescue all the sailors.
Oh, that was the time mission.
Yeah, we didn't get stuck there. We just that was just
no. That's because it was a well done time mission.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. There's examples of good ones in there where it's like you have plenty of time to do it.
Yes. So, but I don't know if we were even anywhere close to the end. But I remember we put a lot of time into that one.
About halfway, actually.
Halfway.
Yep.
But I guess that can lead into X-Men Legends 2: Rise of Apocalypse for PS2, Xbox, and GameCube the very next year in 2005 by Ravensoft and Activision again. And just like before, another isometric action RPG. And the big thing with this game is that the Brotherhood and the X-Men team up to take down a new rival in Apocalypse.
Ooh.
And this time, you got a 16 playable character roster returning from before were Wolverine, Iceman, Nightcrawler, Rogue, Jean Grey, Cyclops, Gambit, and Storm, and newly playable X-Men included Bishop and Colossus. But your newly playable villains were... One sec. Okay, I see. Playable Brotherhood included Toad, Mystique, Juggernaut, and Magneto. And I thought it was pretty damn cool playing Juggernaut. I mean, it just... From there and in Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, big Juggernaut fan.
I think you have a different list than I do.
Do I?
Yeah.
Well, I also got, like, for NPCs, I got...
No, I have a different playable character list.
Oh, yeah? Who do you got?
Like Scarlet Witch, I don't think you mentioned.
Oh, did I miss her? Okay.
Sunfire.
Sunfire.
You want me to run through mine?
Okay, I'm seeing on yours now, yeah. Well, and I wrote this before I looked at before you emailed me your list.
No. You know how thorough I am.
Your list is wrong.
No, it is not.
It's probably like including like unlockable PSP characters.
Nope, I actually did those separately.
God damn it.
Nope. Alright, I'll read my list, Dale.
Dear.
I'm sorry. Bishop, Colossus, Cyclops, Gambit, Iceman, Jean Grey, Juggernaut, Nightcrawler, Scarlet Witch, Sunfire, Wolverine, Magneto, Rogue, Storm, and Toad. You want me to do the unlockables?
Sure.
Deadpool, Professor X, Iron Man. The villains that appeared include Abyss, Apocalypse, Archangel, Bastion, Beast, Deadpool, Garrock, Grizzly, who Dale doesn't know who that is, but that's alright. Holocaust.
Pretty sure a lot of people listening to this don't know who that is.
He's a member of the Six Pack. He was an X-Force.
Who's the Six Pack?
Yeah, that's right. Holocaust, Lady Deathstrike, Living Monolith, Mikhail Rasputin, Mr. Sinister, Omega Red, Sauron, Sugarman, the Stepford Cuckoos, Strife, Zealot. And then for NPCs, we have Banshee, Blink, Blob, Dazzler, Destiny, Emma Frost, Forge, Guardian, Havoc, Khazar, Kitty Pryde, Moira McTaggart, Nick Fury, Polaris, Pyro, Quicksilver, Sebastian Shaw, Selene, Shanna the She-Devil, and Vindicator. Exclusives were PSP, got the Cable, Dark Phoenix, Cannibal, and X-Men.
Moon Knight.
PC, no, that was Ultimate Alliance. PC got Pyro and Sabretooth, whereas the N-Gage got Beast.
There's an N-Gage version. Oh my god.
There you go, yep. I knew you'd get a kick out of that.
And in this version, in the console version, him and Beast and Angel got demoted to NPCs. Yeah, think about it.
Well, Beast was actually a villain. Beast and Archangel were both villains in this because they were under the control of Apocalypse.
Yeah, they got kidnapped.
Yep. It was pretty cool. It's something I didn't write down in my notes, but I remember the CG scenes were like...
Yeah, the CG with like Beast
way ahead of like the first game, and I'm like, holy crap.
Too bad there's only a few of them.
These CG scenes are awesome. Like, something they kind of cut in there is the Age of Apocalypse storyline as well. They kind of like threw a little nod at that. They added some characters for it that hadn't appeared, like Sugar Man and Abyss and Holocaust were like exclusive to that storyline. So
I also got down here. New to this game was which I liked compared to the first X-Men Legends, was a automated experience distribution system, where you could set it to where you can automatically have it where you level up and your experience would automatically get distributed to your upgrade areas. That it just upgrade automatically to the game the way the game thinks is the best way to upgrade your character, which meant more time in the game, less time tinking around in menus.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. I used that a lot when playing in the second game, and extreme powers were also introduced, where after finding enough tokens you can unleash a super powerful attack. Online play is also introduced for the first time in this line of games. I never got a chance to try it out. Tried it out in Ultimate Alliance, so it worked great there. But again, like in the first X-Men Legends, there's lots of extras, including Danger Room missions, unlockable comic book covers, and the return of the Trivia Machine. I remember the Danger Room missions were cool because I took advantage of those to level up.
Big thing for this. New Game Plus.
New Game Plus.
The first one did not have it. If you didn't get something, you had to play the game completely over again. Lose all your stats, everything. So New Game Plus is a very welcome feature on my end. So, like I said, I kind of concluded this with the way I felt about this game when it came out, with the expanded roster and the anime appearances, and this is before Ultimate Alliance came out, mind you. It kind of felt like a love letter to comic fans, and it's a personal favorite of mine because they have all those like weird characters like Grizzly and Vindicator and stuff like that. Like they had a like less commonly known enemies, and I always enjoyed that. It's like more reaching out to like the hardcore fans, and I'm going to appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
All right.
Next up, Matt, I think I'll. Well, I think this is the last. Finally, we're at the last game on the list. Before, wait, I'll throw out the one we're going to save for next show just for now, so we can end it on a game. We'll go in depth about X-Men Origins Wolverine. There was a PS2 version, but it was more of a next-gen game, so we're going to save it for the next version of the show. But it is worth noting the PS2 and Wii versions, unlike the 360 and PS3 versions, were a very stripped-down, watered-down experience. The PS3 360 versions were rated M for mature.
The uncaged editions.
Yeah, labeled as the uncaged edition. Featured a lot of awesome blood and gore. The PS2 PC went for the more family-friendly crowd, well, at least a teen rating, and instead of all blood and gore, you got Wolverine facing off against lumberjacks.
Yep.
And
we call it the neutered version.
The neutered version, yes. And I looked at some screenshots and gameplay footage online. I'm just like, wow, this game got... Yeah,
Wolverine is a lumberjack in the movies. So.
Yeah, well... Yeah, so it's only naturally he has to fight the lumberjacks.
They're rival lumberjacks. It makes sense.
And freaking Sasquatch. Come on. So yeah,
right.
Avoid the PS2. Go for the next gen versions, and we'll
not
talk.
the Wii.
Yeah, not the Wii. We'll make sure to talk more about the uncaged versions next episode.
All right.
For the last one, Matt, what do we have?
X-Men: The Official Game, otherwise known as X3. It's not called X3.
Yeah.
It's called X-Men: The Official Game.
Why not X-Men 3, the official game?
No, it's referred to as X-Men: The Official Game. This came out on all three consoles in 2006 by Z-Active.
And also 360.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember watching you play through it on PS2.
And this is another one of those I refer to as a single-player crap fest, because that's what it is. The quote-unquote story was written by Zach Penn, one of X3 writers, so you know it's good. And strangely enough, beloved X-Men writer Chris Claremont, and it acts as a prequel to the film. Now, Chris Claremont, you might know as the writer that did huge things with the X-Men, like the Dark Phoenix saga, the Starjammers, all that kind of good stuff. The story is told through still panels, which is a total cop-out. I mean, this came out after the X-Men Legends game, so you go from having these really great X-Men games to still crappy panels. Like
Quick rush job comic book movie license caching game.
Yep. One thing to note, the game tries to explain why Nightcrawler is in X3.
Isn't in
X3, excuse me. The X-Men are too violent. That's what it comes down to. After you finish the game playing through it as Nightcrawler, he's like, "Oh, Xavier, I'm a man of peace. You are too violent. I must go." Like, that's basically what it sums up as. And I'm like, really? Like, okay, I prefer the real reason why he wasn't in X3, and this is off subject from the game, but Alan Cumming, who portrayed Nightcrawler in the film, thought that Beast looked too much like his character, and he didn't want to lose screen time. And that's literally why Nightcrawler wasn't in X3, because of screen time. And it's things like that, like the same thing with Halle Berry. She wanted more screen time in X3. And anyways, you play through this character-specific levels using only the 3 characters. There are 3 characters you're going to play through is Wolverine, which are basically really repetitive hack-and-slash levels. Nightcrawler, which are semi-stealth teleportation levels, and that's actually the better of the 3. And by teleportation levels is you kind of have to focus on crawling on pipes and teleporting across and doing these like Hail Mary jumps, like incredibly long distance jumps that you have to hope that you make, otherwise you have to backtrack quite a bit. Iceman's level, you just slide on ice while you're shooting, like you're.
No, I mean that's cool. I remember watching you play those, dude. Iceman.
Yeah,
but
shit. No,
you're sliding all these ice paths.
That's
like,
all it
yeah.
is. It's crap,
dude. That's pretty badass.
No. Piss poor controls, bland graphics and sound. It's just like you said. It's an obvious movie tie-in. It's just like Activision's just like X-Men is hot right now. It's right there, and while it's hot, like what kind of money can we bleed out of fans now? And God, man, after playing all the other X-Men games on this console, like having like this come out, and I remember like I played this like the day I played this, I was like, I'm gonna finish this fucking game so I can return it. I'm like, God damn it! Like, I saved all my cursing for the end of the show.
Would you ever learn your lesson from these movie?
I bought it.
Games?
I rented it before, and then I ended up buying it. But no, I'll never learn.
So you hated it, so you ended up buying it again.
I did it for the show.
Did you throw it in again and get a little refresher?
I will. I'm waiting for you to be there so you can play some of it.
Oh yeah, you got the 360 version, huh?
No, I didn't.
I was gonna say if I have to experience this crap fest,
I
may as well get achievements for it.
I didn't think about that when I was buying them. I was thinking like, how can I pay less for this? So, there you have it.
So, other than a big flood of movie license crap with a couple of exceptions, it's safe to say that things got a lot better for this generation.
Yep. I think for as many high points as you had, you did have some low points with like Aquaman and Dark Tomorrow for Batman.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are some big flops in there, but
some stinkers.
Overall, it set the bar high.
Yeah.
That's it. Next Generation Part 5 of our show. A lot of good games in there.
Yep, man.
A lot of good games.
Little tease for what's to come. We already mentioned a lot of the ones we're going to save for later, but also, Batman Arkham Asylum, Ultimate Alliance 2.
We might finish it before Arkham City comes out.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, so...
We're also going to list some of the upcoming comic book games, too, like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which hopefully isn't out by the time we're doing the show.
We're going to wait until then.
Yes. And we got DC and the Universe Online coming out. A lot of good stuff.
Yes. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that. Probably about a month and a half from now. We're going to try and space it out just like we did from Part 3 here. So
keep an eye out for my review of Shattered Dimensions from Spider-Man. I'll be throwing that up within a week or so.
On VG Evo.
Shameless self-promotion. If I could talk. Stupid cold.
Hey, you gutted it out for nearly 3 hours on a cold mat.
Hey,
I salute you.
That's right. Thank
you,
you,
little Captain America salute. Good job, soldier.
Final justice. Yeah, now that I can talk freely because the show's winding down.
You said you had something.
No, I was just thinking about how earlier we were talking about in the Punisher game that Matt Murdock is in it as his lawyer, and how awesome that would be if they made like a Phoenix Wright type game with Matt Murdock. Be totally awesome, like Electro's on the stand trying to defend himself.
Objection!
Captain America stands up. Final justice. Bang goes the gavel.
There you go, Capcom. That's money in the making right there.
Yep.
You're making a Marvel vs. Capcom game again.
Yeah,
you may as well
get some braids.
Yeah, you may as well do like a Marvel lawyer game.
Yep.
Money, easy money.
Yep. Activision's like writing it down.
Ideas.
Bobby Kotick wouldn't do that. It'd be fun.
Well, like Matt said, he's going to be posting his review here probably on VG Evo soon, and you can go to VG Evo to check out our forums, which can be found on the VG Evo Podcast Network, or just click on the list of shows along with many other great podcasts, and you can find the On Tap channel where you can find threads for all our episodes, and easily just leave a comment on any episode you want, or leave us a question, and we'll gladly use it for respond to it on a future episode. You can send it there, or you can email it to us to mailbag@ontappodcast.com. We love getting emails, so yes, we'll definitely respond to it on our very next episode we get it on. So And we are also on Twitter. Twitter.com/GRUEL is our Twitter feed. You can go there for show announcements and also my latest gaming updates and whatever else is on my mind. So check that out. And I believe that is all we have for you today.
Right.
So
Congratulations to Biff Sticks once again.
Yes, you rule.
$20.
$20. Thank you to you, the listeners, for making it this far. I think yes, this is going to be definitely divided up into a two-parter, so make it a little easier on your ears. So no,
one part.
One no,
Epic one part.
Can't do that. All right. Well, that wraps it up. We're done. We're out of here.
Game on.
Game on.